Hi, and welcome to the Thursday Nights podcast. And tonight I have two very special guests. I have Mr. William Binney and Mr. Kirk Wiebe. And I'll tell you a little bit about them. William Binney and Kirk Wiebe are clients of GAP, the National Security Agency whistleblowers who worked at the agency in excess of 36 years. As technical director, Binney developed a revolutionary information processing system called the Thin Thread that arguably could have detected and prevented the 9/11 terroristic attacks. But NSA officials ignored the program in favor of Trailblazer, a program that not only ended in total failure but cost taxpayers billions of dollars. And concerned over national security, Binney and Wiebe blew the whistle on the mismanagement over Trailblazer using internal channels to share their concerns with Congress and the Department of Defense Inspector General. And despite their efforts, no one was held accountable at NSA for one of the worst intelligence failures in history. Little did they know, Binney and Wiebe would face harsh retaliation from NSA for their efforts and to make their truth known. So that was something that I found online, and I thought that might be appropriate to read since you're here together. And it was an article about the two of you. So I guess maybe we can start a little bit from the beginning. So I know, Kirk, that you were a senior analyst in the NSA, and so do you maybe want to tell the audience a little bit about what that entails?
Yeah. By the time 9/11 came around, I had actually gone from day-to-day analysis into more esoteric, more research-oriented analysis, which is one of the reasons why I teamed with Bill, leaving a job with the Information Technology Organization in order to go work with Bill, who was involved with several others, including colleague Ed Loomis, developing techniques to understand the Internet and how to cull from that huge source of information nuggets of intelligence gold, information that was useful and actionable, hopefully to stop bad things from happening. And so that whole research process was very interesting to me. And frankly, I was appalled that the NSA completely ignored what Bill and others had done in that effort and left the whole ball game up to private industry, no doubt to curry favor financially after that. It's a part of the normal tradition of senior government workers. They leave government and take lucrative jobs with private industry. And so money basically took paramount importance at the cost of American lives, unfortunately.
Okay, so thank you for elaborating on that. And then, Bill, if you want to maybe go into, I know that you developed Thin Thread, and you held a position of the technical director, and you're regarded as one of the best decoders in U.S. history. So maybe you want to go into what your job entailed.
Well, for the first close to 30 years, I was working the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact. So I was breaking all kinds of ciphers and codes and things like that, and data systems, and working with data on those problems. But so that went on for very close to 30 years. Then I became the technical director of the group, and then after that they wanted me to be the technical director. Basically, when they reorganized in 1997, I became the technical director of the world because I was good at breaking and solving technical problems. And so at that point, shortly before that, I had formed the SIGINT Automation Research Center with Dr. John Taggart from research. I was from operations, he was from research, so that we paired up all of our skills in one place with about 15 people, 16 people total. And we worked with all the skills in one place to solve the problems, which we could do really quickly. So the Thin Thread program, which was the program Kirk was talking about earlier about the digital world, we were trying to be able to handle the tens of terabytes of data flowing by the network every minute, and figure out what was important and be able to pull that out with that program. But I had like 4 other programs running at the same time. So, and they were focused on automating analysis, which would be the driver to be able to make all these good things happen. So And the whole idea was to be able to be lawful, abide by the Constitution, make sure people privacy was respected, and deal with only those things that we had probable cause to select from the entire flow of information. And again, the whole idea was to automate that as best as possible so that we could manage those tens of terabytes. I mean, if you have to look at the content of tens of terabytes per minute, you never get through and you fail immediately. So we designed it to go after the metadata, the connecting IP addressing and phone numbers and things like that would be able to connect people into communities, and that allowed us to say this is an important community to follow. The rest of them aren't, so that allowed us to separate the entire mass of information out just by the externals of the metadata involved.
Okay, well, thank you. So you guys were, actively involved with the NSA for, I know you spent like 36 years there. So when into your career did you see, and I guess I'll go back to Kirk on this. When did you realize that there was a lack of integrity within the NSA and that something was wrong and that there was violations against the Constitution? When did you realize that?
Well, it was the first hint came around the first week of September, and a bunch of new hardware equipment had arrived right outside our office door and was piled in the hallway. And I remember asking people in the organization, Bill and Ed were running, what the heck was that? And no one really knew. And the second indicator came when I walked into our conference room that we had in our office and was almost thrown out by an analyst that Bill and I knew. And obviously some sensitive discussions were going on that they didn't want to make me privy to. And I went over to Bill. I said, Bill, what's going on? Our buddy Ben basically threw me out of the conference room. And he says, I don't know. Well, it wasn't too long after that the contractor that Bill worked for had been asked by NSA authorities to begin using some of the tools Bill had put together for analysis to look at the private data of American phone calls, in other words, U.S. citizens, even though they hadn't done anything wrong. And that contractor went up to Bill and said, Bill, do you realize what they're doing? And Bill said, no, what? He said, they're turning the system loose against Americans. And, of course, when you hear something like that, it's like the worst sin possible because it was drilled into our heads that one does not spy and turn the machinery of spies against the American people. We had gone through that kind of illegal behavior in 1975. Severe penalties were put against the NSA. 2 congressional intelligence committees were set up to make sure it never happened again. And here we are in, the 2000s now, years later, and the intelligence communities are actually committees are actually in bed with NSA. They act in concert to protect what NSA is doing rather than doing the oversight for the American people that they were empowered to do back in 1975. What an utter catastrophe for freedom and privacy in the United States.
And Bill, would you say it kind of mirrors what Kirk just told us, or what was your take on that? When did you start to see there was a lack of integrity?
No, that was exactly when I found out, and of course I discussed it with Kirk because we couldn't stay there. I mean, we had to leave. We couldn't be a part and accessories to all these crimes they were committing and scrapping the Constitution in secret and creating basically a secret government within the government. And they got it by bringing in initially only 4 people from Congress. They were the chair and ranking member of the House and Senate Intelligence Committee. On the House, that was Porter Goss was the chair, and Nancy Pelosi was the ranking member. and then Graham and Shelby, I think, were the members on the Senate side. And they brought those 4 people in on the 4th of October of 2001 and gave them a briefing into it, and they weren't allowed to bring any staff or allowed to talk to anybody about it, and they all agreed to these programs at that time. And at the same time, I think they got briefed on a lot of the torture programs and things like that out of CIA too. So I think that once they agreed, you see, they were now co-opted in, and now they had to defend the programs in their respective houses of Congress.
And so at that point, what did you decide to do? Because I know there's other key players that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, at that point, I mean, both Kirk and I decided we couldn't stick around for all this, and we decided we had to get out of there as fast as we could. So it took us 2.5 weeks to get out of the place. And we didn't bother going because I knew all the leadership at NSA. I mean, I was basically working for the deputy director at that point. So I didn't think that it was necessary to even talk to any of them because they were all committed to this. Obviously, the orders came from the White House. Otherwise, they wouldn't be. I mean, Richard Nixon got impeached for a fragment of what they're doing today. That's why he was impeached. So, I mean, it was obvious to me that it was pointless to talk to them, that we should go directly to the congressional committees because it was their job, their charter, the committees were created to protect against this. But you see, we didn't know that the leadership of those committees were both committed to it. So that was a pointless effort, and I think Diane Rourke was the one that we went to initially, and she attempted to try to get it across to them. She wrote internal memos about it, too, at that time. This was late 2001, early 2002. But,
can you talk a little bit? I didn't mean to step on you. Sorry about that.
Well, but I mean, but see, even after that, that didn't work. And so we attempted to go to the third branch, the Supreme Court. We attempted to get a meeting with the Chief Justice Rehnquist at the time. And the way we did that was we didn't want to go through formal channels because that'd be shut down right away. So Diane was basically working with us at the time, and so she wrote a note for the Chief Justice that requested a meeting. And Kirk and I knew another fellow in contracting, a contractor, that went to high school with the Rehnquist's daughter. So we asked him to pass the note to Rehnquist's daughter to pass on to the Chief Justice to see if we could get the meeting we were going outside of channels because we knew that channels would stifle it. So, right. But that didn't work at all either. So it ended up that eventually we complained to the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense Inspector Generals. Mm-hmm. But after that, and also some members of Congress too. But after that, that's when the FBI and the DOJ attempted to falsify evidence to indict us. The only reason they didn't is because we caught them at it, and we had evidence of malicious prosecution, and they dropped us like a hot potato at that point.
Yeah, and so I understand, like in 2001, you Loomis, and Wiebe, you and Kirk retired at that point.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
In October, that was Halloween Day, October 31st. Right?
Wow. Well, I guess I want to backtrack a little bit because I do think it's important to go into a little bit about what you created, the Thin Thread, the project that you, because I thought it was so interesting when I learned about it, the surveillance technique, that with the Americans, all the American data would be encrypted, and that that's how it would stay private, and you wouldn't be violating the Constitution. And so I guess then what happened is they took the coding out that kept the messages encrypted. Is that correct?
They did several things. There were 3 basic sections they took out. The first one was the filtering up front. If you had to be a known target or fall into a zone of suspicion around the known target within the graphing of the social networks to have your data taken in. If you weren't in those zones, none of your content was taken in. And if you were U.S. to U.S., you weren't taken in at all. No metadata and no content whatsoever. The only way a U.S. citizen would be taken in is if they were in contact with a known target. At that point, their data would be taken in. But if they weren't known to be a target, their attributes would be encrypted so you couldn't tell who it was.
Right.
That was taken out, and they removed that. So at that point, everything was taken in. And also they removed the encryption part, so that part was removed also. But then in the backside, we also had a set of software that was monitoring who was on the network, who did what with the data in our network, and could detect whether or not they were doing something that they shouldn't be doing with the data, or that they were, violating certain rules or regulations or whatever. We had that software in there too, and they removed that too. So, I mean, if they left that in, they could have detected Snowden, removing data, or anybody else removing information or data from the system. But they removed that also.
Okay, so, then we'll go back. Now we'll go back to what we were discussing. At that point, what did you guys decide to do, and what other steps did you take to try to bring this information to light?
Well, after we left the building, we decided to get together with Ed Loomis, who was managing the research effort along with Bill. And we decided to try to take what we knew, and that is how to exploit high-volume digital communications and do it in a way that comported with the Constitution. In other words, rather than violate people's rights under the Fourth Amendment, it followed the Fourth Amendment. And we would use typical court procedures based on probable cause to uncover the identities of people that looked very suspicious. And there would be a judge or a court involved. So we decided to take our concept elsewhere to try to bring it to the government through another agency, perhaps, maybe the CIA, maybe DHS. So Bill and I and Ed did some contracting for a couple of years until about 2006, and tried to get that known amongst popular circles in government, but we were shut down. Every time we succeeded, it was as if there was a concerted effort to block us from being successful, even though we were demonstrating success with several employers, including DHS and including Boeing Corporation. The contracts were terminated. And it wasn't because we didn't succeed, it's because they didn't want that kind of a solution. When I spoke to a senior executive at Boeing, Ella, I showed him a view graph that showed basically a simple concept of how our approach would protect identities using encryption of American and other innocent people. There's no need to look at them if they're innocent and not suspicious. He said nobody cares about that. And this guy had high contacts in government, and Bill and I were appalled to hear that response. Nobody cares about that. And that was the rude awakening for me, finding out that your government really didn't care about the Constitution and the rights of the people.
That's unbelievable. And I know that, I've talked to other whistleblowers as well. You make an oath to stand for the Constitution, basically. So, I mean, I can imagine that was a lot of disillusionment at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when and how, because then I understand that you guys had that lovely 9 a.m. wake-up call that one morning by the FBI. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Are you comfortable discussing that?
Well, sure. I mean, we were all, all of those of us who signed the complaint to the Department of Defense Inspector General about fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption at NSA, which, by the way, under regulations for employment with the U.S. government, you were required to report that to the Inspector General of the Department of Defense. So we were following through on what we were supposed to do. But after doing that, of course, didn't enamor us with the NSA or anybody in the intelligence community. So right after the New York Times article came out in December of 2005, warrantless wiretapping, not so much about the data mining, which was really the biggest part of it. They, of course, were looking around for who did that, and they wanted to tie that to us. Of course, we didn't do it, and they knew that because the Stellar Wind program contained all of our emails, phone calls, and transactions financially, and so on. So, I mean, they could have easily looked in there, and they knew right away that we weren't involved, but they wanted to tie it to us. That's part of the fabrication that they tried to put on us. And so, as a part of that, right after the Attorney General Gonzalez gave his testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee on the terrorist surveillance program of the president, he only talked about the exposed warrantless wiretapping, only part of it too. And that's all he did. But he knew that we had a reputation for going to Congress committees to tell them the truth, and of course he didn't want anybody doing that. So it was the morning of the second day after his testimony that they raided us. That was the 26th of July at 9 o'clock in our time on the East Coast. We were right at all the ones who filed that DODIG complaint. And by the way, the DODIG gave our names to the FBI initially, as which was a violation of their regulations too. So, Diane Rourke was the other one to sign. Diane, Kirk, Ed Loomis, and myself. We were the ones who signed the DODIG complaint. So all of us were raided simultaneously. We were raided at 9 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, and Diane was hit at 6 in the morning on the West Coast. She lives in Oregon.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know she was here. And so, then I understood that Drake, though, at that point hadn't been raided. It was like 6 months later, apparently, because I know Thomas Drake is a key player in this as well. Yeah. He was the inside man that we mentioned would support the investigation, which he did. I mean, He gave them all the original documents, which NSA later modified when they presented it to the inspectors, and that's when they accused him of that. And of course, NSA denied it, and they said, well, they've got documented evidence. That's because Tom Drake had given them the originals of the reports of the 5 studies that were done on the Thin Thread program before NSA had them or modified them, and that's what they did before they gave it to the inspectors. So that meant they could lay one against the other and see exactly what they changed. And they knew exactly what they did. And it's all documented in that DODIG report as a result of the study, and that's why about 97% of it is redacted, because it catches them in all their lies, corruption, and the fraud and waste. Right. From what I understood, too, I know we're going off on a topic about him, but when they retrieved all those documents from his home, they basically were unclassified, and then they just basically, and from what I understand, they just went to the bottom of it and put classified. Yes, actually, they were actually classified as unclassified by NSA. Right. And what they did was they wanted to charge him with having classified material, so they crossed it out and put a classified mark on it. That was something that really stayed with me for a while. That was something that definitely made an impression on me as well. Well, it's framing people. That's basically what they tried to do to us. They tried to fabricate evidence to convict us and put us away for 35 years, just like they tried to do with Tom. And so at that point, what occurred after the FBI shows up at your house? And there's one thing I wanted to ask about. I thought there was something, I read a couple different versions, so I'm not sure, that the New York Times article had something to do with the raid as well, and they thought you guys were the leak? Well, yes, but they knew we weren't, from the Stellar Wind program, which is the domestic spying program they started. They knew that already, but they used that as a way to leverage the judge to get a judge to sign a warrant. I mean, you trump up a charge and make it look really important, so you put the real important stuff up front. So that's what they did. That was in the warrant request, the affidavit. And so the judge didn't know any better. I mean, they're not involved in national security, so they don't have any idea what's going on here. In fact, I went to that judge's clerk and I complained that they were fabricating this evidence afterward, And they asked me if I had lawyers. I said, sure, I got a couple of them. So, but the point was, I was started at that point to assemble evidence against the U.S. government, the Department of Justice,
for trying to fabricate evidence against us and charge us and indict us and put us in jail. And so when they attempted 3 times to do that after the raid, the third time I'd had it with them, and so at that point I just unloaded all the evidence I had on a phone call to Tom Drake because I knew his phone was tapped. So I did that so that the FBI guys recording it and listening to it could hear all the evidence I had. And I told them that I was ready to charge them with malicious prosecution when they took us to court under this indictment that they were charging us with, because our lawyer told us they were going to indict us. So after that, I just hung up. I didn't say anything. I was just waiting to see what happened because I was pulling their chain, okay? I knew who they were, I knew how they operated, so I did that, and I waited. And then all of a sudden, Kirk and I are offered letters of immunity a month later. Our lawyer tells us we're offered letters of immunity, unsolicited, by the way. Yeah, and so we still got copies of those letters, too.
And then from what I understand, too, even like Obama reinvestigated this, is that correct?
Well, he kept the investigation on Tom going, yeah.
That's what, okay, it was just towards Tom. I wasn't clear about that.
After they dropped us at the end of 2009, early 2010, they kept Tom's thing going. Because, see, Tom was still working for NSA, so it was easier for them to try to fabricate evidence against him than it was against us because we'd been retired for 6 years at that point.
Right.
So we didn't have access to classified data. So anything they would do there would look really silly. But Tom, on the other hand, who was currently, at the time, was working for NSA, they could easily do that, they thought, and they could fabricate that and charge him and get him convicted. Well, the problem was they got Jim Bamford came in as a friend of the defense and did the investigation and found that they put the same information, fundamentally, almost all of it, that they were charging Tom with. They would put it out. NSA put it out on the web as unclassified. And so Jim hauled all that data in and took it in and gave it to the judge, Judge Bennett, in the court at the federal court in Baltimore. And all he did was look at one and then look at the other, and he could easily see that they were framing him. And so that's why their case fell apart. Alexander went on TV and said they didn't want to expose classified information. That's why they dropped it. That was a lie. They got caught fabricating evidence. That's why they dropped it.
Kirk, do you want to add to any of this information?
Well, just wanting to make sure the point is not lost, that the objective of the government was to make Tom Drake an example, as well as us, because our clearances were suspended, and never again were we able to work for the government on a lucrative contract and practice our trade and bring to the American people a way to protect the nation better than is being done now, and not at the cost of privacy to the American citizenship, to Americans. And so the whole objective was to put the fear of God into any other future whistleblower to the degree that they could. That was, and of course, to punish us for putting the government on report in the first place.
Yeah, what they're doing is covering up the biggest swindle that the world has ever seen. I mean, they've swindled hundreds of billions of dollars out of us, the paying taxpayers. Oh, well, it's on the debt. I mean, we've added it to the debt.
Right. And then
after all, most of them are being run by contractors, and contractors have one objective, and that's to get the next contract, keep the business going, and make a profit. They don't have an invested interest in solving the problem. If they solve the problem, they don't have the problem to get more money. That's what's going on here. It's like a self-fulfilling business. It keeps going because we never solve the problem.
Yeah, Thomas Drake told me, he goes, you got to keep the problem going to keep the money flowing. That's stuck in my head, that quote he said. Yeah.
Well, that was my vision statement for them. Originally, I thought the vision statement should be aim low and miss, simply because they failed all the time. But instead, after a while, it became really clear that the money was the motivator. So that's why I gave them the vision statement of keep the problem going so the money keeps flowing.
Yeah, I like it. It's stuck in my head. So then, how else? I mean, I know this is personal, but people like us can relate to this. I'm sure that you maybe would be interested in this. Did it affect you? Now that you were targets of the government per se, did they try to affect most of your life? Did they continue to follow you? How did that look for you? What was your experience?
Well, for us, I think basically it made it pretty hard for us to get another job anywhere because
Right.
the FBI would always come behind you saying we're investigating these people, and so people drop you like a hot potato. So
right.
and NSA blackballed us in the government everywhere. I mean, we were doing work for DHS at one time, Customs and Border Protection, and we had a solution for them, but they they dropped us because this was in late 2006, and that's after the FBI had wiretaps on us. We found out later from the affidavit, warrantless wiretaps, I would add, and so basically that is a law enforcement organization looking at imports, exports, and ICE is a part of that. So they basically told them you need to get rid of them too. So they terminated our contract in August of 2006, I think it was.
Yes.
And that was because the FBI started wiretapping us in February of 2006.
Okay, I see. Kirk, what about you? What kind of experiences have you had, and how did it affect your life?
Well, when you get raided by a dozen FBI agents, it isn't fun. I think it temporarily set us all back, all of us who were raided, back on our heels for a few days, maybe
I can imagine.
Maybe a few weeks, because your mind, you're trying to sort out what the heck was it you did wrong? What are you being accused of? We were not allowed to read the affidavits supporting the search until they were ultimately uncovered 5 years later as part of our court case when we sued the government to get our property back that they had taken during the raid. And by the way, we won that without a lawyer. And four of the five of us went in together, shared the $300 suit filing fee, and we beat the government. And that set a new precedent for property seized during an investigation. If there's no subsequent prosecution, they must return property. And people are still litigating that issue later. Anyway, the point of it is that it sets you back. We got our property back for the most part. Diane Rourke is still fighting that battle out in Oregon because she had to file separately since she was searched in Oregon after she retired in 2007. She was searched in Oregon, so she had to file from there. She could not join our lawsuit here in Maryland. And so that still continues. In the meantime, we were denied constitutional rights. They drug it out, the return of material, over an extended period of time, and no one that we talked to wanted to represent us in a constitutional rights case. It's as if lawyers are brave until they go up against the government, and then they don't want to do it because they know the government is almighty, it has the power, and it has the intelligence apparatus to know what everybody's doing. And that's the kind of intimidation we now live with in this great land of freedom, or that once was free.
But what's interesting?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can finish, and then I'll go ahead and make a statement.
Well, I was just going to say, Ed Loomis lost a wife over it. Ed became a bit of a recluse for 2 or 3 years until he got over it, and we established connections with him again. Tom Drake, as you know, was under threat of prosecution. Went through extreme personal lows. I can remember talking to Tom and trying to give him pep talks about the fan base he had and believe in the people that supported him. But he was obviously under great duress. Diane I think health-wise took a dip, but then gathered her strength. She's a tough lady and came back. So we all got over it. But Bill will agree. He was angry. He was ready to pull out the guns and go after him in any way that he could. And you won't hear that anger in his voice today, but don't let that fool you. He is, he is fixed on the target, and the target is to get the word out, as is for all of us, to get the word out about how our own government is shredding the Constitution under our very noses. And we can't even get the issue resolved in court. Court cases drag on and on and on, and our best chance is probably the one out in the Ninth Circuit, out where you are, Ella.
Right. Jewel versus NSA, yeah.
Yeah, Jewel versus NSA, that continues to be a live, active case, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, here we are today. We're healed. We have never let up, except for the few weeks we were back on our heels, and then we sued them. We got our property back, and so generally life is good. We don't worry about whether they monitor us or not. We're not overthrowing the government. We're not trying to. We're working to support the Constitution. We're public about that, open about that, and there isn't anything that we need to keep quiet, except we won't tell anyone how to do this kind of intelligence exploitation the powerful and right way, because they'll turn it against us, as they have with what they're doing right now.
And that's what Snowden kind of researched you gentlemen and realized what worked and what he saw what didn't work, and so he took the information he deemed from you and applied it to himself and realized what he had to do it a little differently. Yeah.
Exactly right.
But it was interesting when I was doing my research on this topic. Even the White House lawyers were against this. They call it the Stellar Wind, was also known as the program, I guess. And even they said this is violating laws. And I heard they were searching, trying to make it legal in some aspect. And that the attorney generals refused to sign off on it. And one of them, like an hour later, ended up in the hospital for refusing to do that.
Yes.
That was unbelievable.
And that's why they kept it all secret. That's what Senator Wyden was complaining about, this secret interpretation of Section 215. And even Sensenbrenner and Leahy, the ones who wrote the law, said that the Congress never intended them to be able to do what they're doing. So they're violating the intent of Congress. That's another felony, So, but what's another one when they commit billions of them every day?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. These are egregious crimes, and But But when I was also doing research, I realized there was quite a few people involved that really felt like this was wrong, what was going on, and so more and more names seem to keep. Tam, I guess a man named Tam. I guess he's the one that actually went to the New York Times.
Yes,
he did. He was the lawyer at the DOJ writing up the request for warrants from the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the secret court. And so when he was writing it up, he could see that they had wiretaps and read emails of other people. That's where they were getting evidence from that to submit to get a warrant request from the court. Well, you're committing a felony if you do that before you get the warrant from the court. So that's why he went to the New York Times. He just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of, but I guess Bill clarified that they knew that it wasn't you guys that actually leaked the documents. It was just an excuse.
Yes.
That's right. And you notice that they never went after Thomas Tam legally, like they did with us. The reason they didn't want to go after Thomas Tam, because he was the guy responsible to write up the request for warrants, and he would have testified in his court case that they were violating the law. And so, wouldn't you like to sit on the jury of his trial when they came in and saying we're going to charge this guy with the crime of exposing the crimes we're committing? That would be a lovely jury seat.
Yeah, that would be definitely. So that's that's why he wasn't. Okay, I wasn't sure how that played out, and I saw an interview on him as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense when you put it that way. So I guess then, what else? Other topics. let's just maybe go into what good, this was a question, we talked about yesterday, what good came out of it? And I know you set some precedences already, so you've mentioned that, but what good came out of it for you or for the people? What do you feel about that, or how would you express that?
Well, I think it's very slowly coming into being exposed through the movie Snowden, also a movie about me that's coming out in February of next year in the U.S. It's called A Good American, and it explains all the stuff of how we got to this surveillance state, all the things that the Thin Thread program was doing and how it got there and how it worked so that people could better understand it. And it's done in a movie in a visual form so that people can see how it would work. So it conveys that meaning, and I think it will add a lot of understanding. And then the Snowden movie by Oliver Stone will show the impact on people and in their lives, that even though they don't know this is going on, this is really what's happening. And so I think that the two of them together will give the background and then the impact. I think that people, once they see those movies, will begin to understand much better what kind of an evil government we really have now.
And some of us know it's much deeper and darker than that, too. So.
Yeah.
It is extraordinary that this can be going on. And I know that a lot of people in the government don't know what's going on. And even like the president, it sounded like when there was all this going on, when they were, when the Attorney General was refusing to sign off on the program, that when he was taken to the president's office, he said the president didn't even seem to know, he said that, I forget who it was. Oh, who was it?
Comey. That was Comey who went to the office. Yeah.
Okay.
Ashcroft was the Attorney General. That was the hospital visit in 2004.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so from my understanding, he said it had been going on for months at that point, and he said that President Bush you could tell, he said from the conversation, that he had no idea that this was going on behind closed doors, and that he was completely unaware of what was happening at the NSA.
No, not at the NSA, but what the disagreement that the DOJ had with the warrantless the Stellar Wind program. He wasn't aware of the argument between his lawyers, Cheney's lawyers, and DOJ at the time, but he knew about the NSA program. He was the one who approved it with Cheney.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that. Okay, so we were just talking about, I guess that you guys set the stage for people to come forward. But at the same time, we've had this last president who came down so hard on whistleblowers, and from what I understand, there are some whistleblower, protections set in place. What's your opinion on those, or what do you think we can do to improve upon that?
Oh, there are laws in government that protect whistleblowers everywhere in government except the intelligence community. So we're exempted. I wonder why. So we have none of the benefits, and we have no leverage.
I would also tell you this, that probably most of your listeners don't know. The NSA and the intelligence agencies are exempt from auditing by the U.S. government, which means that it's like, wouldn't you like to have a job where here you are, the head of NSA, and you're handed somewhere between $10 and $15 billion a year to spend any way you see fit, and nobody will check on you how you spend it? I mean, it means that you could take $1 million home a month without nobody missing it, and even if they did, they wouldn't follow up to find out what you did with it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a setup for corruption, and that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah. It just seems to be ridden the entire government system. The more I research, the more I realize how corrupt it really is. And some of us really, and I have my family was Swedish. They came here with such ideals of what America was, and they were more patriotic than most Americans. And a lot of people who come to America are that way. They believe in the values of America. They have to learn the Constitution. I think a lot of immigrants know more about our country than even some of the Americans in order to get your U.S. citizenship. So, yeah, and then I grew up with that kind of patriotism. So it is very difficult to, understand and accept that this is really going on.
Did you say, Ella, your parents were immigrants?
Yeah, from Sweden, yeah.
It's interesting. My grandparents were all from Sweden.
Oh, really?
Hvala du svenska?
Yeah, hej då. Lite svenska.
Lite svenska.
Lite svenska. Yeah.
Du bra.
Ja, bra. So did you have engineers in your family? Because my dad was pretty welcome, being an electronic engineer. He, NASA took him in as a contracted. So I know there's a lot of engineers that come over from Europe.
Yeah, my grandfather, who immigrated, was an engineer as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of engineers in there. There really is. It's interesting. So anyway, so as you know, when you grow up with those ideals, it's pretty, it's heartbreaking to come to that realization that this is the way it is, But I still think, the Constitution is there, and we need to figure out a way to, as you gentlemen know, trying to uphold this Constitution and try to right all the wrongs. And is there anything else that you think really helped, or through your action and your courage of taking this on and trying to bring it to the public, any other points you want to make that really helped? And we know you set the precedence and helped other whistleblowers come forward, but what else would you might want to add?
Well, I would add that while we're helping educate the average person about these issues, we're making absolutely no headway in the political arena. We've been invited to the Hill to talk to staffs of Congress people, but nothing changes, and we're never even invited. Do you know that we have testified in front of the Council of Europe? We've testified in the British Parliament. Bill's been there, in the Austrian Parliament. And we've had discussions with other parliamentarians from various EU countries. But not once have we actually sat down with a committee of Congress or a congressman to discuss what we could bring to the government in the way of fixing what is now a constitutional crisis involving mass surveillance and denial of rights. Never once.
Yeah. I would only add that I also testified to the German Bundestag. And when I did that, the intelligence committees of the U.S. sent representatives over to listen. And, I looked at them and I said, hey, I'm only 20 miles up the road. Why don't you give me a call? I'll come down, Instead, they send them all the way to Germany, Berlin, to listen to my testimony. That tells you the kind of insecurity and corruption involved in our own government.
Right. Well, what I guess my next question to you, and one of the last couple ones I have for you guys is, what do you think? I mean, you kind of already answered it, but what do you think about the current NSA and its workings and its protocols? Has there been any improvement now, or are they just going deeper and darker?
Well, I think personally, I'd say they just like to stay deeper and darker. One of the good things that come out of this latest, just recently, they had there was a compromise of the source code for all of the hacking tools that NSA had out of the tailored access office in NSA. Those were the software, that they would use to hack through firewalls, operating systems, networks, switches, servers, and all around the world. And they tried to portray it. They arrested a fellow here recently for compromising some things, and it looked like this was a second Snowden that I thought existed within NSA. But the point was, they knew about these weaknesses for many, many years, and they've been exploiting them so they could look into anybody. It's not just it wasn't just for Russia or China or anything like that. It was for everybody, because anybody that used any of those systems, the operating systems, firewalls, or so on, they were all vulnerable to this attack. So, and the point was, they left those things in place and didn't move at all to fix them, which meant they were leaving everybody in the world vulnerable to an attack. And that meant that's how the things like the OPMs got hacked for all those millions of citizens who were applying for clearances. They got all their data taken. And then other attacks and exposure of data around the U.S., they've all been happening, and in fact around the world. That's because they knew about all these weaknesses, but they left them in place. Not counting the ones they built in, either through in the encrypt systems or in the systems themselves. But The point is they left them in place, so they left us all vulnerable. And now they're using the fact that we're being attacked to drum up, cybersecurity and get much more money there for that, to do the protection. And now that they've been exposed, hopefully they'll fix them, and then we'll become a little more secure than we were before, and we maybe won't get attacked as many times. But they're using the process they've been using all along to basically swindle money out of the population. So it's been a swindle all along with these intelligence committees and communities. Mm-hmm. This was what Eisenhower warned about in 1961 when he left office, warning us about the military-industrial. Well, it's the military-industrial intelligence complex now. So that's what he was warning us about, and now it's come to pass.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say or add, Ella, is that it's shocking to hear attacks in Paris of the size and type that we've seen. Same with Brussels. Same with the Boston Marathon, Fort Hood shooting. A whole raft of what I call failures. And what I mean is NSA failed to stop any of them. Any of them. That is shocking. The whole reason NSA exists is to stop threats to the security of the United States and the safety of the American people, and they're failing miserably. And every year they ask for more money, more access to data, and they continue to fail. And they continue to argue, well, we're failing because we don't have enough. No, they're failing because they're dying on too much data. They can't pick the needles out from a monstrous haystack. And this lunacy of collecting more and more and more about innocent people is ridiculous. The whole effort needs to stop and get redone so that we focus on those with the most suspicion of committing crimes and terror against people all around the globe. NSA's mission isn't just to protect the United States, by the way. It's to produce foreign intelligence. So any attacks on Paris and Belgium are also failures of NSA. Just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you for that. And I know Karen Stewart, who is also an NSA whistleblower, and both of you are familiar with her, she agrees. She said the same thing about the NSA.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then I guess, as you know, we have quite a few targeted individuals on the call, and I had a conversation with you, and you guys both believe that this is true and that this is happening to us, and maybe you might want to tell them a little bit about what you do know, because it's nice that people that are credible, that have been, that are also whistleblowers, but on a much larger scale, that you believe us and that you realize this is real. So do you guys want to add anything to that?
Well, we are, Kirk and I have agreed to look at data that's being compiled by some other TIs, and they're looking at the community around the world and trying to gather information. Here's what we're attempting to do. We need to have some irrefutable process to be able to prove the things that are happening and the kinds of things they are and what the consequences are and how it's affecting people. So we want to first assemble all of the information that people have, not emotional or feeling, but just the basic facts. What is happening and exactly what is it? Not burying it in any kind of emotion or anything like that. We're just trying to assemble the basic facts from people, and then we those are the things that are affecting people, specifically how they're being affected. And then we're assembling information on what's known from publications and so on from the government, of non-lethal weapons that are being developed and the kinds of consequences that can be occurred from these kinds of weapons. So then we'll try to be matching the one with the other, right? And then we'll be putting together ways and means of looking at the spectrum that these devices operate in and seeing how it would be possible to detect and verify that these things are occurring. And then finally, we'll try to put together recommendations on how people should proceed to prove what's happening to them specifically, with evidence and compiled evidence that can be taken into a court of law, and done in such a way that the methodology is not challenged because you're not bringing any emotion into it. It's a straightforward process of documenting events and happenings and evidence. So we're trying to pull it using the discipline that we use for our data analysis and so on, that we've experienced for, Kirk and I for over 40 years now. So we're trying to
I imagine that you would.
And bring that into this process to make it a scientific process that's a reliable process and demonstrable in a court of law.
Yeah, no, a lot of us are very grateful for that. And I'm just curious, how did you come to find out about targeting? And, how did you find out about it, that there was this even darker targeting process going on with people, this darker program?
Well, I was invited by over to Brussels for a for a conference by
right.
God, I've lost his name now. I can't remember certain things. When you want to remember something, you can't.
I know. You're gonna remember it in a minute when you're already moved on to it.
But anyway, I was invited over there to give a talk about the surveillance, and I did that. And I was listening to another whole series of people come up from various countries around the world talking about this. And then I forgot how Kirk got involved, but that was my initial exposure to it. Magnus was the guy.
Magnus Olsson, a Swede.
Sweden.
He's a fellow Swede. Yeah.
Yeah, he invited me over, so that's how I got involved from my side. And then I think I talked to Kirk about it, and then somewhere, I don't know, Kirk, you and I got together on something. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, what happened was Phil up in Connecticut. What's Phil's last name? He has a radio show and TV thing up there.
Huh. I'm not sure who that is. I know a lot of people in media, but I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, Phil. This
Phil
guy
Marie.
hosts a show.
Phil Marie.
Phil Marie. That's right. If you look up Phil Marie, Marie, he's out of Connecticut, Natick, Connecticut, or Niantic. It's one of those.
Okay.
And but he originally lived in New Hampshire, and that's where his targeting. He's a target where he first began to be targeted, and it's followed him down into Connecticut. So he's interested in helping this whole thing as he can. And of course, once we get the survey ready to send out, Ella, you'll be asked to help distribute it and get it out there amongst the population of people who believe they're being targeted. We need that input.
Yeah, we will do. Thank you so much for that too. I mean, I can only just say thank you, and I know everyone else is grateful too. And it's just nice to be believed first off, by credible people, and then to have people actually supporting us and willing to do some work to try to help us, and help us approach it in a way that's going to be effective. We're beyond grateful. So.
Well, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to add one thing though. As a part of this though, we have some questions in there that deal with the environment, because we have to eliminate that as a potential cause. Like if you're next to high-powered tension lines, or some kind of generator like microwave towers, or if you're in the line of a microwave or things like that, that can also affect people. So you need to be able to eliminate that as a potential possibility, or, in the case of the testing, you should be able to verify that is an issue if it is, Either way.
Whether it's just enough, yeah.
Right, that's right.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for that. So would you guys, I know we're at the hour mark right now. Do you mind taking a couple questions before?
No, I'd love to.
Sure, that's all right. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. And I'm going to remind everybody, please keep your questions brief and try to keep it on topic. And again, the support call will roll on in a little bit. As soon as our guests leave, we'll go ahead and have an open discussion. But just right now, please remember to stay on topic and keep your questions short. Thank you so much ahead of time. Okay, Southeast Missouri. Hi, Missouri, you're on the air.
Hello, my name's Dave Case, and I'm an electronic engineer And in the past, I tried to patent a photonic processor and a photonic memory system, and I was attacked by agency with very high technology and with the ringing tinnitus in the ears that absolutely destroyed my life. I have come up with a countermeasure, and I've cured 29 people or helped 29 people eliminate or reduce the tinnitus. And come to find out, the photonic processor I was trying to patent already exists. They already have them, and it's called national security. And I believe that's the reason I was targeted. And I have documentation right in front of me of an NSA lawsuit. NSA Signals Intelligence uses EMP brain stimulation for remote neural monitoring and electronic brain link. What my invention does is jam the spectrum that they're using. It's called a biorelevant feedback loop. In other words, if you target an individual, you have to get their body temperature, their heart rate, their brain waves. There's many sets of data they have to retrieve. And I believe they're using the GPS signal as a main carrier and these photonic processors in a magic tree formation to process this large amount of data to target individuals. I was just wondering if you have much knowledge of any connection with these photonic processors and the GPS.
Well, that's not an area that Bill and I worked in directly. But in terms of radio emissions, frequency spectrum, that kind of thing, we're generally familiar with that. And my first question to you would be, Dave, were you able, is this an audible, in the hearing spectrum of a human being? Do people hear a high-pitched tone?
Yeah, they're using the skin as a transducer. In other words, the skin is transforming a higher frequency into an audible frequency.
And have you measured the frequency of the audible frequency?
Well, I can tell you, it is a range of around 5 kilohertz to around 35 kilohertz. And my countermeasure, I use 2 I-55 IC chips, oscillator chips, and I wired them in a fashion that's never been done before. And it causes massive interference between the two chips, and it covers the entire spectrum. And as they try to gather data, my metadata, that signal that I play on a CD, on headphones, contaminates the biorelevant feedback loop and breaks down the loop. And then the brain is freed from the brain link, and your brain is actually allowed to heal because they're actually causing brain damage. They're interfering with brain chemistry.
Okay. Are you willing to share some of this knowledge that you have there, Dave?
Oh, yes.
Can you?
Yeah, I have testimony letters where I have people.
Yeah, this would be important for our study and being able to document that kind of process and be able to put it into a spectrum. And also you've already got countermeasures started, so that kind of thing would be important to put into this study.
Yes, I offer it free. I try to come on as many calls as I can, and I offer it for free. And, I have many testimony letters where they just absolutely say I saved their life. They're getting back their cognitive abilities. They're making decisions quicker. They're able to sleep. It has many benefits.
Yeah, I think this is an important thing if you're willing to share that with us. Thanks.
Oh, yes. Yes, I sure will. Matter of fact, I'd give you my phone number if you would like it.
How about I give you my email and you could email it to me? Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay, are you ready? Hello?
Yeah, I had to get a pen here.
Okay. It's just my name, William Binney, 0802 at Comcast.net.
Someone's got a
William. You say William
Binney. Yeah, if you could spell it.
WILLIAMBINNEY 0802 at Comcast.net.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Dave. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if anybody does want the CD for free, I was going to give my phone number out real quickly, and I'll get off the call. It's 573-300-1579.
What were the first three digits?
Pardon me?
What was the first three digits?
573.
Got it.
300-1579.
Outstanding. Dave, you're a patriot. God
He
bless
really
you.
is.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks,
we
Dave.
really appreciate him. And he doesn't do it for money. He just, he gives it for free. Although, we'll get, he may need $1 for the CD or something if he want to send it. But he's been really, really helpful and very altruistic, and we always appreciate people like that.
Outstanding.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dave.
so now we're moving on. Let me find out who number 2. Here's Bella. Hi, Bella. You're on the air. Bella.
Hi, Bill and Kirk. What an honor to have you here. I just have a couple of questions. Can you give us an update on Jewel versus NSA and your civil rights lawsuit?
Jewel versus NSA is still going.
Okay.
They're still. It takes a long time in a court. This has been going on since 2006 or something like that. So, but the good news is we've got other court cases going too. One in the Second Circuit with the ACLU. I'm not sure what's happening to that one now, but one in the Third Circuit with another lawyer that used to be in Pittsburgh. Now he moved down to Tennessee, but that was still going. We've got achieved standing there, and that was still moving forward. And then another one with the former mayor of Salt Lake City in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. He's going to sue the government again for spying when they had the Olympics out there. And so we're supporting that one too. So we've got 4 separate cases in the appellate courts that what we're supporting. So we're trying to get as many going as we possibly can because they're all relevant. They're all done based on constitutional violations. So.
Okay, and you also have your civil rights case going, or is that still going?
That was a 41G lawsuit, which is a return of property lawsuit. That one's pretty much over with. Now, we have won ours, but Diane Rourke is in Oregon. She's still fighting hers.
Okay, and now the Section 702 of the FISA, which is supposed to end next year, do you suggest that we write Congress about that? Or is that a...
Well, I suggest they just cancel the amendments and just revert back to the original FISA law. That was good enough. They could have, and then they could do. It could be constitutional and follow the laws that exist. Instead of trying to modify them, the whole point is that under 702 they have secret interpretations there too. So they're doing content acquisition as well as metadata. It works like this. They say that. As long as you're going after a target of interest like a terrorist or a dope smuggler or something, and by the way, you happen to collect other information, it's coincidental. So it's not really, and you can keep that coincidental data stored, and you could search it if you want to too. So that means I'm going to look at this 64 fiber 10 gigabit line, and I know there's a terrorist or a dope dealer on there. So I'm going to take the entire line and store it all. Everything's coincidental except the target that I'm after, okay? But I can still do it legally, and that's their secret interpretation, okay? that's done under Executive Order 12333, Section 23C. You can look it up and read it if you want.
Okay.
So
it's due to expire, but I mean, is Congress going to do anything? They seem very much vested interest or leaning
there's an
towards
awful
that.
lot of money in this, and there's a lot of businesses in different congressional areas, that support a lot of jobs, and their constituents get money through these programs.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
they have a vested interest in keeping a lot of this going.
And Bella, this is Kirk Wiebe. The other fact about Congress is many in Congress are not truly informed of what's going on. The intelligence committees lock them out. They give them bare bones information, often misleading, and really don't invite them into the core of the process, so they can't even represent you in Congress properly on this. There's a huge power issue here in terms of how we're representing people or not in the world of intelligence. So your voice is really not being heard. I would urge you to write letters as you can, or phone and voice your displeasure with the mass surveillance, untargeted kind of attack that's usurping the privacy rights of Americans.
Okay. Very good.
I think if we could add one other thing, part of the evidence that people are beginning to understand this down in Congress. In 2013, shortly after the Snowden material started to get released, Representatives Amos and Conyers in the House of Representatives started a coalition of members, both Democrats and Republicans, together to try to pass a law to unfund these NSA activities. And when they did that, they solicited inputs, and we were supposed to go down there and brief them. But when they put that on the congressional record, that we were to go there and do that, why President Obama called a meeting of all the Democrats in the House at that date and time. And so that canceled the meeting. And then their voting on the bill was like 4 days later, and when they voted, they lost the vote by 12 votes. So that's how you sabotage an effort to do something constitutional.
Now, Bella, one more fact just to address your question was, what's the status of Juul versus NSA? And I will tell you that in February, the judge in the case gave permission for the electronic EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, to proceed with discovery. Never before had a court case reached that point where they were able to demand that the NSA produce data that the EFF lawyers can look at. So that's what's in progress right now.
That's excellent.
Now, whether or not NSA will give them the correct data is another question.
Right. I don't know if either of you gentlemen know of Chalmers Johnson, who wrote Sorrows of Empire and Blowback.
I don't.
I recommend those books to others because he talks about this history and our current situation and how dire it is, that we need to renew civic consciousness and to find ways to do that. Because any attempts to reform, are being thwarted. I was looking up all the whistleblowers, and there's not one that was given a fair assessment. So, anyway. But I appreciate you, gentlemen. You're awesome.
Well, I think we were given a fair treatment by the Department of Defense Inspector General's investigators, right? But they wrote up the report. It's just that the Inspector General there at the DOD deep-sixed it and went along with redacting virtually all of it. So that and they kept it in secret. So they basically covered up the issue.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bella.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And the only reason I'm not going to unmute one person is because you already asked a question, and there's quite a few people who want to ask. So
sure.
Okay. There's one person. Oh, here he is. This gentleman, his name is David Voigt, and he's been a real hero, and he also was involved in the military, and I'll let him speak for himself. Hold on 1 second. Hi, David. You're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'd just like to start by saying what an honor it is to talk to you. You guys are my personal heroes. I work with the TI issue, and I can't imagine trying to attack this problem without the efforts that you folks have done. Like you said, my name's Dave Boyce. I'm a former naval officer. I'm a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. I have a degree in control systems engineering and worked as an electronics warfare with cryptologic technicians and in nuclear engineering. I found out about this program somewhere around 2003, and then started pulling the string on it and found out, it's true. The stuff that the TIs are claiming is true. It's a standard, pre-planned response for discrediting someone. The same sorts of stuff that happened, during the MK Ultra program. They've gotten all the things that they were looking after, and they've continued on and funded new projects. And so I just wanted to, talk with you guys, and I heard you on Phil Marie's show, and I was so glad that we had folks of your stature that you had been exposed to this topic and knew a little bit about it. So I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Well, I think we want to say thank you, David, for what you're doing.
If there's anything if there's anything you have in terms of documentation, David, that would help.
Well, actually, I looked at this, and I looked at where my skill set was, and I kind of use the standard engineering process. What do I know? What am I trying to learn? What do I already know to be true? And I attack this problem from a sociological and psychological approach. And it's kind of a unique solution. I use the comment sections of various websites with the knowledge that, there's this mass surveillance system in place, that people don't know about it. And if I make comments, the people who are receiving them may not know that this program is in place. During the Vietnam War, there was a guy named Jeremiah Denton, and famously he was the one that linked torture as he was interviewed. And that's what I kind of tried to do, was send a signal to the public using kind of an convoluted process. And so an example here, there's a representative named, I think it was Hank Johnson out of Georgia, that asked this odd phrased question. If you look at YouTube, it's just such a weird thing. He asked this admiral, why, something about, kicking the Marines off of the island of Guam for fear that the extra weight would cause the island to tip over. Totally nonsensical statement. But my approach was, I would make some comments on the internet that could be recoverable, with some of the modern technology. And then if someone were to say it publicly, there would be no way that what I wrote did not correspond to what that person said. So it's right. I've got hundreds of it's like a Rube Goldberg machine. If I have 16 disparate ideas, there's for each idea there's maybe one chance in 100,000 that occurs on any given blog. When you add them up, the probability becomes an infinite power, that there's no chance that what you wrote on the internet did not result in somebody mentioning that in a public venue. So,
wow,
I've got quite a few of those. Some of them have appeared in television, like television shows, and that sort of thing. So that was my approach to the thing. That there was just no way that you could do something from a technical approach to solve this issue, and you wouldn't be able to get documents, and there's espionage laws. So I kind of looked for where there was a spillage of this technology into the private sector, tried to get them to come after me with this targeting process, which I was successful. So I could learn a little bit more about it. I knew maybe they would try to take physical control of someone, take control of your romantic life. Just the same sort of things they talk about, the 1-hop, 2-hop, what is the social mapping of the target look like, and provide, kind of all the tools that are necessary to, complete a targeting program. And it kind of worked. So that was my process. It wasn't, I didn't go from a getting raw data. I went from a process where you could kind of recover the internet comments, and some of them have been published publicly.
Very interesting. Have you had any physical manifestations?
Yeah, and that's what I was going for. I wanted to get into the program, and yes, it's if you have no background in this technology, there's a playlist called Tech That Can Hack the Brain. It's on the TED website. There's also a guy named Jack Lamont out of the University of California, Berkeley, that does basically brain hacking using functional MRI. And I started. I got the tactile sensation. And starting in 2012, and it's exactly like what they use with the modern prosthetic limbs. You can feel temperature, pressure, wetness or smooth, rough, and it's a pretty good, it's a remote program, and it's exactly like the targeted individuals claim. It's no touch torture. You can provide the sense of smell. You can provide audio information. And it's a perception warfare weapon.
And all of it is to mess with your mind.
Yeah, it's a
pretty
tool
much
for psychological warfare.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and David specialized in human-machine interface testing in the Navy. He's a very smart man. He has a lot of credentials himself. He's we really look up to him. He's one of our heroes too. He's walking across the country, bringing in media attention. He's gotten quite a bit of media attention too. He's walking across the country with a sign on his back, and bringing attention to the matter. So yeah, he's pretty heroic himself.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And so. David, you're going to be somebody we're going to want to talk to down the road a bit after we get some data together and begin to work a plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Really, thank you for all your efforts, and you're a great American.
Yeah, he really is. Okay, I'm going to go to number 3 on the list here, Connecticut. Hi, Connecticut, you're on the air. Some of these people might have walked away. Hold on a second.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We all just wanted to thank you for being on the call and giving us acknowledgement. We're all truly suffering in our homes, out of our homes. Some of us have things in our bodies that we shouldn't have, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say God bless America. And I was wondering if you thought that there was any chance that Snowden could have downloaded some documents when he did that download. I saw the movie Snowden, and you both mentioned, and I was wondering if you thought there's any possibility he could have documentation proving that this is happening to the citizens.
This is Kirk Wiebe. I have to believe there's a chance. If we believe the numbers that he downloaded 1.5 million documents, that's a lot of material. And the question is, do any of the journalists that he left the data with, I guess there's 4 of them, Glenn Greenwald's one of them, and Barton, what's Bart's last name?
Gelman.
Gelman down in D.C. has a copy, but they would be the ones we would have to ask to see if they've run across anything on the subject of EMF targeting of individuals.
Yes.
But I have not heard that myself as of yet.
Who, how
I
or
don't,
who?
I don't know anything
how
either.
Could we contact them? It would have to be somebody, that has a position or something. I'm sorry, I'm really getting clobbered here. I'm not speaking very well. Somebody of authority to do something like that, where it might be possible that they might divulge information. Something we should think about. Because that would be
I'm wondering if we could get in touch of Barton Gelman and ask him if they've seen anything like that. What do you think, Bill?
I see. I don't think I'm not sure how they're going through all that data, but that's an awful lot of data. It could be something just like NSA. They're overburied with data. So I don't even know if they know what they have.
We'll give them help.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
even
they
know
need a way to search it.
Yeah, I mean they're probably doing just simple word searches like NSA does, or FBI. They do the same thing. They do word searches or phrase searches. So if they're not asking for the right phrases or words, or they probably wouldn't even see anything.
Yes. Would it be worth a shot? I mean, you can't imagine what we are.
If we could have a reliable set of words that would be, reasonably give us some reasonable expectation of finding some of the data, then it might be worth asking. But it'd have to be something that would be, unique enough to pull something out. Otherwise, you could get like NSA does when you do it, or like when you do a Google search, you can get tons of material and you'll never find it. So, and I just simply wouldn't know what to ask. I mean, that's my...
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure. Right.
Yeah, hi, this is James Lico, and I've got a degree in electronics engineering technology and biology and computer science. And I understand this technology has been around since the 70s. Let me lower that. Since the 70s, and it's been used for, I think, first for spies in the field, and since then, I guess it was used in MK Ultra, and now it's used to attach to innocent people in their homes, and it's like, if you can imagine, radar beams attaching to someone's head and following them around. That's pretty much how it goes. If they're driving in a car, it follows the car at the car speed, and it can do intricate things. It can, I would imagine a doctor could do surgery with this. It can go into their body and access specific organs and do, I don't know, whatever they do. It's torture, but a doctor could probably do surgery with this. And getting down to the most important part of it, I think, is the remote neural image, which allows them to attach themselves and read and successfully read and influence the neural or the brain, all the neurons in the brain, and get feedback as to heart rate and respiration. This is a very sophisticated system that I think that people need to be aware of. And see, they can. The most important thing about it is they can see through my eyes and they can hear through my ears. Hear what I'm talking about. What anybody, you're like a walking bug. Wherever you go, and they could have someone, or they know someone's going to go into some place that's like a very sensitive, secret place, and he's going to see certain things. They could attach to him in a I don't know, 5 minutes, I heard, and follow him in there and see whatever he sees and hear what he hears. So this seems kind of important. This seems like we cannot overcome this problem that we're having with the Constitution unless this is solved. And I'd like to hear your comments.
Well, first of all, one of the things we wanted to pull together with part of this study is as much evidence we can from sources like government sources or any other, even universities or businesses or companies, that are working in this field, documentation of the processes they're working on, so we can assemble those as a part of our study to see and pull together the kinds of information I think you're talking about, the spectrum range, things like that are involved, and how these kinds of things operate and what they do and the effect and so on, and then try to match it up with people who are experiencing things. and that's part of the process that we want to go through. But we have to have that kind of documentation. If you know of any of that, and you can send that to us or give us some of that, that would be great, because that would add to this overall study that would allow that to be part of the documentation. And then eventually, of course, we want to be able to make it possible for people to assemble the evidence to show this is happening and prove it in a court of laws and take it into a court and kind of counterattack those who are perpetrating these kinds of things, or even companies, for example, if they're radiating people through their microwaves or through their through high tension lines and mixing with other kinds of things that might have cross radiation causing effects, and things like that. But we need to be able to prove that, and we need to be able to have documentation to say, here's what's going on, this is what's happening, these are the things that they cause, the effects of them, and here are the people having these effects, and we have these things that did the measurements for us, and here's where these things are coming from, so that we can prove that and show that chain of evidence.
Right. What I've noticed is there's many, like maybe over 1 million contractors involved in this, and they, from my standpoint, you'll hear from other people that your neighbors are not involved. But what I'm telling you is the neighbors are definitely involved. They somehow get them to co-opt themselves and to allow them into their homes, and these contractors will rent an apartment or house next to you, and they will irradiate you right from there. And I think that they're doing this. The reason they're doing this is because they're supplying data for the President's Brain Initiative and for an Air Force contract, a $49 million contract called Directed Energy Bioeffects Research. And that's still ongoing. That's going on for a few more years. I think the reason they have to be next door is because they're transmitting data two ways. It's a two-way signal from the subject or target, whatever they call them, back to them, and they have to keep the target under control, and that means pain. So to get this data, they have to have the signal close by, because there's blooming of the signal or data degradation over distance.
So you need close proximity, yeah.
Right. It deteriorates by the square of the distance. So So anyway, that's what I wanted to get across to you. That's probably the most important part. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. He's another Oregonian. He's one of the activists that lives out here in the Pacific Northwest. He does a lot for our community and teaches us about technology and how to use some of the devices to read, different signals. So he's been very helpful to the community as well. Okay, so
that's one of the things. That's one of the things we want to do is get all these things down in spectrum.
Right.
What part of the spectrum are they involved in, and how can we detect them? That's the point.
Right. Another woman who knows a lot about that. We don't have a circle, but there's some in there. Let me get to. I'm going a little bit out of order here because some people somehow something happened to the queue. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Todd. Hi, Todd.
Yes, hi. My name is Todd Giffen, and I had a question. Now, a lot of the information that you find on the internet about the National Security Agency, and in the Snowden movie, it seems to cover only the low-tech side of spying. That is the information that's intercepted over the fiber optic cables, the upstream bulk acquisition, and other programs related to internet companies participating and telephone companies handing over packets and data to the government. But there's a high-tech side to the NSA we don't seem to be hearing, which is about the space capability that Russell Tice talks about. I done some research on the space capability, and going back to the 1930s, when military radar was invented, the information available says that they had the ability to MRI scan and nuclear magnetic resonance image and electron spin resonance image and do all these fancy scans of objects remotely. This, in theory, and not just in theory, but in practice, would allow them to actually watch people in their homes, to take full 3D holographic scans of their homes from the military radar and satellites. So this is this hidden capability of the NSA. I personally have been targeted by it that no one's talking about, and I just wanted to ask if it's true that there is this whole other side to NSA, the space capability, that is hardly getting talked about. There's also numerous patents about this. You can actually scan the brain remotely with a military radar. There's a patent by Robert Malik from 1974 that mentions remotely reading and altering brain waves. And just like a couple of pages down, it says one of the techniques or systems, the apparatus to do this can be traditional military radar systems. So this sounds like big news that we know for a fact that this is there, but no one seems to be talking about it in the mass media. And even Lockheed Martin has came out with a patent that they've advanced it to the next level to actually quantumly scan through even plasma. So there's virtually no barrier you can create. And China has launched quantum satellites into space as well. Is there like this high-tech side to the NSA that is just not believe? I've been targeted by law enforcement. There's been state employees who actually said that there was technology that could watch people through the walls, and they were using this in law enforcement. Because I knew about this, I witnessed the staff talk about it. There was security video and audio of them actually discussing this, and I became they increasingly targeted me for like retaliations because I was documenting dates and times on the security video and audio of them admitting to spying on people during probes, which what I believe is the NSA capability. It's able to watch you in your room, in the shower. It can do a brain scan, like a full brain scan. Now, is there this capability that we have a good ideas out there that no one's talking about in the mass media? That's one of my questions.
Well, I think from my point of view, I can only say that I know I know some of the capabilities that they have, but nothing of the nature of what you're talking about. But that would be important if you have that the documentation you were talking about. If you could, in some way, get copies to us, because that would help us with our study too.
I would love to work with you. I just sent you an email. I do have a lawyer. He's a former U.S. attorney, and we have a similar thing going on where we're doing an investigation into all this. And I have numerous pieces of evidence because after I became a target, I had law enforcement stalk me on the streets, and it became sort of a game where they let me get evidence. And I even went into the Senate building in Washington, D.C., and one thing is they'll whistle at me every time I come around their vicinity. So they'll have cops and people whistle, and I have had a microphone and witnesses notice that the cops seem to be tracking me from town to town, and they're alerted to my presence, and they will whistle at me and let me get recordings of this. So in my opinion, I think they're letting me get evidence that I'm under kind of like counter surveillance, and I've been told this by witnesses, including my friend Jimmy Fry, who is former military intelligence. So I would love to get with you. I've also been evaluated by 7 psychologists who all back me as a victim, that I'm not crazy, and that I have tons of evidence that they believe supports what I'm saying. And one of my big problems, though, of course, has been like not having the funding to access to proper reporters or lawyers who actually have the ability to do anything to change this, or to help me do something about it, do lawsuits or whatever it would take to properly expose it.
Yeah, believe me, Todd, this is Kirk Wiebe. We understand the predicament you're in. We certainly have felt some of that ourselves over the years. But don't give up the faith. Hang in there. Just because Bill or I have not seen anything in NSA doesn't mean a doggone thing. At NSA and at CIA and other places in the intelligence community, you only are exposed to things with which you work. And if it's not in your field of expertise or your area of work, you're not going to know about it. And NSA and CIA are full of compartmented areas that have stuff going on that we didn't know a doggone thing about. So just because we don't know about it doesn't mean anything. But what we do know is that the government has a history of experimentation against the people, whether the blacks down at Tuskegee Institute or whites in Maryland and testing different kinds of gases and poisons. And we know the DOD has authorization to conduct experiments against people, sometimes with their consent and also without their consent. So we know they have the power, they have the money, they have the technology, the systems, the data paths to deliver all kinds of I would say, aggressive kinds of electronic methods against people. And we just need to put the story together, do some correlation, and work together as a group. And thank God there's people like you that already have a jump on the issue and have gathered data and expertise that will just make sure that we all get there sooner in terms of realizing what we're dealing with.
Great. I can give you guys a tip if you want to Google search something, because this has just been part of my own research. Google military radar MRI, and you will get an article that says that back between World War II, they invented military radar that had MRI and nuclear magnetic resonance capabilities, and that's way before doctors' offices got MRI to scan your brain and body for injuries by like 40 years almost.
That's amazing.
Well, that'd be interesting to do. Yeah, we'll do that then. Military radar MRI.
Yeah. Okay, Todd, did you get your question answered?
Yes, and I look forward to communicating more with you. I hope I can do further chatting with you. Just shoot me back an email or give me a call.
Yeah, Todd is very informed. He really is very informed, and he knows a lot about these InfraGard systems, which you guys are familiar with. They enlist these people, and they tell us, basically that we're terrorists or whatever else. I mean, they use all kinds of things that they do to label us to implement this InfraGard, and it's unbelievable. You get stalked by people. It's unbelievable. But you know about it, you learn more. Yeah.
And personally, I believe in kind of the counterintelligence provocation aspects of the targeting. Like, I believe they're using this to discredit people and torture them, whistleblowers and people who might have witnessed government crimes. And that's what happened to me. I do run drrobertduncan.com if you guys want to get on there and look up more of what I've collected as evidence.
Yeah, he works with Robert Duncan and has in the past. So I'm
Great.
sure you guys, are you familiar with Dr. Robert Duncan?
In general terms, yes.
Yeah.
I was on a show with him once. I can't remember what show it was, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Former CIA. Okay, well, thank you, Todd. Hey, Todd, I'll see you tomorrow at the Mind Spring Conference, and we'll do our activism.
All right.
Thanks, Todd. I look forward to tomorrow.
Okay,
bye. Bye. Okay, so there's quite a few people. Okay, I'm going to go to Florida now. Florida, you're on the air.
Good evening.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm trying to stay well. I've been listening to the show, and you guys have been talking about a lot of the things that I have, I don't like using the term targeted individual, because what we are citizens who are tortured. being one citizen of many citizens in the United States that have experienced torture, the subject matters of what you're talking about, I don't have an engineering background. I don't have an electronic background, but I do have a relationship with God. And within the last 3 months or so, God has been able to provide me the information to understand the very technology this young man just got through talking about as far as the form of radar. And radar is in the form of infrared. So identifying some of these weapons being used, you will need to have something that will deflect infrared energy. And the other thing you would need is a laser, because it bounces back off of the energy that these people are using. And I did not know that a radar could lock onto a human body and also take scans of the brain. But then that would explain why I had these frequent headaches at one point or another. And it is just not I. I have 2 teenage kids who also have been affected by this technology. If there is a move, a godly move to bring about change, and these 2 gentlemen on your panel tonight might be forerunners for such a change, is much needed. There's too many people being harassed and assaulted by remote technology, and they don't have the education or the comprehension to deal with the stress load of that. And once your body is bombarded with more than one night of infrared assaults, and it does not have the proper healing time, you go into systemic shock, and that plays out in your it plays out in different measures on different people. They may become depressed, they may become angry, they may become aggressive, and this is just the overload on their nervous system. So if you gentlemen do have the expertise to and within grounds of keeping your own self safe from this remote technology, that's more important, because David is one person who's being very courageous in what he's trying to do. He's trying to represent a silenced community of many different people from different locations about the technology that is being used on a global scale, while himself could be at some point or another placed in harm's way through the ill will of others, because everyone that's in Congress, they're not always right. And we have a panel of leaders that just need some more godliness. I don't think we have a problem with government. Government have a problem with their hearts. You elect ungodly people, you get ungodly things to manifest.
That's absolutely right.
That's true. And, I didn't know you had 2 teenagers being affected, too. I have a teenage daughter who is also harmed. So it's unbelievable that they involve children in this.
Yeah, my family has been apparently assaulted since 2006, that I was not cognitively aware of the subject matter. Moving forward into 2007, I guess they increased the frequencies on me, and that began to the process of sporadic behavior. And I did not know that these techniques that they use on the human emotional barriers can also promote behavior in people that is non-existent in them. But I guess
it's true.
I guess that's the only thing that they can do to bring about some type of legal aspect as to why they have to, or why they are doing what they're doing. My brain has remapped itself in ways so when they're using these techniques, it shuts down their attempts. I guess between my relationship with God and the abuse that they've inflicted on this human body, it has now developed a way to block their attempts to control my thoughts, because I've also experienced dream states and emotions and behavior traits in my sleep that I've never lived. And for you to go to something that you have never had, a television show that you've watched, or a movie that you previously reviewed, or a book or a magazine that you flipped through to see these type of images, they should be non-existent. They should not exist in your conscience. So it's much more than just being remotely assaulted.
Yeah.
They also have the ability to push thoughts into people's heads, which is dangerous.
Did you get your question? We have a lot of people who have questions. Is it okay? Did you get your question answered?
Between the two gentlemen that you just allowed to speak briefly, I got my answer. It's radar that's being used, and that's infrared, and I've determined that already. They're using that inside the house. And the power line is also being used as a source as well. So I thank God for you, sister. I don't know your name. I was invited to listen in on this show earlier today.
Ella. My name is Ella. I've heard you on Renata's call. I love Renata's call. So my name is Ella.
I thank God for you, Sister Ella.
Well, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it.
Thank you both for being on the panel, because it takes bravery to stand up to what people believe to be a government out of control. We really don't have a government out of control. We have people who are in government who fail to act under their authority that they typically have.
Very good point. Excellent
point. The false presentation that the government as a total is out of control. It's not.
Well, thank you. God bless, okay? You stay strong.
Well. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go on to, let's see here. Okay, Northwest California. You guys try to keep your questions brief. I know, this was a great opportunity. Just remember other people want to ask questions too. Thank you. Northwest California, you're on the air.
Hi, Ella. It's Dawn. Hey,
Hi,
I just wanted
Dawn.
to say, hi. Just real quick, I know there's a lot of people who want to talk. And first of all, I want to say thank you. It's an honor, and I just really appreciate your guys, your integrity, and you just, maintaining, the fight and fighting the good fight, and God bless you for all your efforts. I wanted to say one thing you talked about, touched on briefly, and that was on the gathering of evidence and how to establish, that these things are actually happening when it comes to the directed energy weapons. And one thing that I did, and I wanted to get your input on it, I'm relatively new to this, just since January of this year, but they've hit me really hard. So what I did was I hired a specialist. He is an EMF specialist who lives in my neighborhood. He was recommended to me, and he's got all kinds of degrees. I can't even rattle them all off. But what he does is he comes into your home, and he did a thorough sweep through my entire house, and he measured every single area of my house, and then he provided me with a plan to then he provided me with a plan. I'm sorry. I'm out.
Hold on 1 second, see if she can clear her noise.
Uh-huh.
Dawn, did you get your noise under control?
Yeah, I'm outside. It was the neighbors. So anyway, he went through my entire house, and he ended up writing me a report. He took pictures and video as he went through my house. He measured all the different radio waves, the microwaves, the frequencies, and all of that. Then he made recommendations of what I needed to do in my home to bring everything down just from the natural stuff, the smart meters, your Wi-Fi, and all that kind of thing. So after we got done putting filters in all of these electrical outlets, unplugging the Wi-Fi, and he told me different things to do, he got it down to where it was just barely zero. So my thought was, and this was my plan, and I'd appreciate some input, if I have this report from a specialist who told me that he would testify, and I show that, okay, look, my house is baseline zero almost for all of these things. There is no interference from anybody around me, and my house is zero. Then I take my meter and I start filming it, because when they hit me with this stuff, it just goes all over the place. Wouldn't that be a good starting point to say, I have an expert that said I did everything I needed to do to zero my house out with all of these different frequencies, microwave, what have you. And now here's what's happening every single day and every single night, even with that. Do you think that that's worth anything?
It is, if you have his data measured by him that backs up what you're feeling.
So what he found when he came in, because when he was over, they turn everything off. So when he came over, there was nothing. And so my report shows that, my house has 0. There's no, what I'm saying is there's no natural, I think that's the word you guys are using. There's no natural or other normal Wi-Fi signals and things like that putting off any of these frequencies. And in other words, when I show them my meter that's going crazy in the middle of the night, I've already established based on an expert that it's not coming from any natural sources.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You said my meter, so you have equipment as well?
Yeah, there's one of two things. I was either going to just use one of the tri-meters and just kind of film it at night when they turn this thing on me to show how it's going up at night, because they usually hit me at night when I'm in bed. And, of course, I still work, and they hit me at work. So I was going to just start filming it at night. Or he said what he can do is he brings over his equipment, and he does what he calls data logging.
Exactly.
Okay. So he said once we've established a baseline that none of this stuff is coming from your Wi-Fi or your smart meter or whatever, then we know for a fact that whatever's happening, it's going these crazy readings at nighttime, it's not in your house normally. It's got to be coming from somewhere. But the problem, I guess, is he said even after we have that, if I do the data log and he gives me this report, he says tracing it back to its source becomes the next hurdle.
That's right.
That's right.
Right.
So is there any way that anybody knows of, before I go any further with this, and I end up with a bunch of useless data, to be able to track that back?
Yeah, there is. It may take several pieces of equipment, and your EMF expert would know this. You need to be able to direction find or triangulate on the incoming signals. In other words, the strongest part of a signal is the direction it's coming from. Especially
so when he was over doing his thing, he had a directional antenna on these meters. He actually got on top of my roof, and he said, because I told him, I said, they're on either side of me, they're across the street from me, and they're behind me. In fact, last night their system went haywire. My neighbor said, hey, Don, there's a drone flying around your tree, and it's hanging a bunch of fishing line in your trees. When I went out and I put my meter on it, my tree picked up like it was completely bugged. I mean, it was just off the scale. Then as it turns out, what they were doing is they were lowering something out of the tree. This was just last night. It malfunctioned. I could hear it. It malfunctioned, and this light laser show started going on everywhere. Then all the perps came out of the house around me, and they all hopped in their cars and took off real quick. I had nothing last night because their stuff broke. But the bottom line is what I'm trying to say is he used his antenna, his directional antenna. He got up on my roof and he said, it's coming from your next door neighbor's house, and it was a 4G signal. He goes, and it's very strong. This is really unusual that I would feel it way over here. He said, and it's pointed right at your bedroom wall. So he was able to do that,
Yep.
and so.
And that's what you need to log. He needs to capture that data.
He did.
So that it can be presented to someone. And I would say, is he doing this for you free, or is he charging you a lot of money?
I paid him, but it wasn't too terribly bad. It was about $400, and he was here with me for, close to 4 hours. So, and then I had a report, so I didn't think that was too much. I'm desperate.
Ask him what he would charge you to prove the direction these emanations are coming from through data logging by leaving equipment. In other words, they wouldn't know, and of course he ought to disguise it somehow, maybe dress up as a mover and bring in big boxes so no one overtly sees that he's bringing in detection equipment. Place it in your home, do several nights, 2 or 3 nights of data logging, and you need to correlate and write down when you're feeling physical manifestations so that those times can be compared with the emanations that he picks up with his equipment. And then you would have one heck of a case in other words, for making your case. It would actually make your case using scientific data. It would be wonderful.
Okay, so and I just didn't know if that piece was possible. So while he was here physically, he had this, he had these different meters with these different antennas. Like I said, he literally was up on the roof. He was really thorough. But now at night, when he sets these things up, it will record. He showed me one of the reports that he's done, and it's very specific. It shows the peaks, and it looks kind of like an EKG, and it shows the different peaks, and it shows the different frequencies that they're peaking at. It was very complicated and very intricate.
No, that's exactly what you need, and then you need the direction that it's coming from.
Yeah, so I don't know. So in the middle of the night when this thing is picking it up, it's picking up what's happening in my room. I don't know if it's going to tell me from that data log whether or not it's going to tell me where it came from, and I don't know how it could.
He would know whether he can do that or not. Just ask him.
Okay. Well, that was kind of the path I was going down, and I was just going to throw that out there that, that was for me. I thought I need to establish a baseline that, first of all, like you guys were saying, that my house is clean. It's nothing that's naturally occurring in my home.
Exactly. And you are doing perfectly the right thing.
Well,
Dawn,
dear Lord, I'm trying.
She's a very smart woman. Thank you.
I'm trying.
Dawn.
It was a freak show last night. You should have seen it. I called the cops and I tried to tell them, I go, look, they've threatened me with guns. Now they're out there. They pointed that laser right at my eye. They went after my eyes last night. Couldn't get the police to come out. And I said, what does it take? I said, I'm being injured. I'm being shot at. I'm being threatened. And, my next door neighbor got you guys come out for a noise complaint. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to shut up now so somebody else can talk. Thank you so much. God bless you guys, and I know we're going to overcome this. Okay.
God bless you for what you're doing.
I'll keep trying.
Thank you, Dawn.
Okay. Thanks,
I'll talk to you tomorrow, Dawn. Okay.
Bye. Okay.
Okay, so let's get to. How are you guys holding up? I want to be very respectful of your time.
We're fine.
Fine? Okay. Okay, let me get to. Now we have Linda. Okay, Linda Costanzo. Hi, you're on the air.
Thank you, Ella. Hi, Bill and Kirk. Thank you so much for coming here. You're a delight, and you're giving us faith. You're giving us hope, and that's what we need. We need to know that there are people out there that are knowing what they're talking about and that you're helping us, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You're giving us faith as well.
Well, we're just all hoping that, we can get a hold of this somehow.
Yep.
I want to say, first of all, that I'm one of the recipients of Dave Case's CD, his audio CD, and it's remarkable. Not only is my tinnitus screeching noise in my ear beginning to dissipate tremendously, but my brain fog is clearing up. It's
my gosh.
Yes, in fact, I'm sitting here thinking I can really think again, and I was having a lot of trouble thinking, a lot of brain fog, and God bless him. Are either of you hopeful that we can bring this to an end?
Yeah, it's going to take some work. It'll take some data. It'll take a group of people acting very purposefully, rationally, based on firm data.
Right.
And then I think we can command an audience with respected, and there aren't many left, journalism outlets, news outlets, and eventually grab a couple of congressmen, get an audience, present the data, because I doubt if many of them know about this.
Really? Not many in Congress you feel know about this?
No.
Okay.
I really don't.
I agree with you.
I think the biggest thing, though, is and the one thing they're all really afraid of is exposure in the sunlight.
Yes.
And having a solid case to present. That's what they're afraid of.
Really?
That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important to have a lot of discipline in what we're doing to prepare it and construct it in such a way that it's not simply refutable or dismissible as somebody's losing their mind or something like that.
Right.
And you have to have the evidence in a scientifically designed an approach that will show and prove with step by step in a reliable way what's happening and the effect of it, and then that could be taken into a court of law, and that then is the sunlight that they'll run from like scared rabbits.
That's
It's
wonderful.
the same with the surveillance issue too, because that's why they don't want us to testify down in Congress, because if we do testify, they don't have plausible deniability, because up till now nobody's really told them what's really happening, and when in fact most of them know already, but they don't want to hear it in testimony in the public forum, because if they do, then they can't claim plausible deniability.
Exactly.
As long as they can do that, they can easily wiggle out of anything, So.
Yeah, like calling us all crazy, and that makes
that's right.
Yeah. Also, litigation will help get that out in the public too, because that's
right.
all public
That's
record.
exactly right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Beautiful. May I ask you? I think it was you, Mr. Binney, that you said that Obama is sort of doubling down on what Bush did, and are we talking about like the NDAA, that act that he's? I'm not sure what you mean by that. But he's doubling down.
Well, the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act,
right.
Section 1021 is the one in particular. It's irritating in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that one says that, and Obama was one who wanted that in the NDAA.
Yeah.
It's the section that says that if the president declares you a terrorist threat, that he can have the military incarcerate you, take you off the street, incarcerate you indefinitely with no due process whatsoever.
Right.
That is exactly what is said in Special Order 48 issued by the Nazis in 1933, right after the Reichstag fire. That's how they took over Germany. They got rid of all of their political opponents and anybody that opposed them. That's exactly how they did it, and it says almost exactly the same thing.
Wow. And he signed that in 2011, which is a little scary because we had no idea. We had no idea until this all started to come out, and we started looking at that sort of thing. Thank you for confirming that. Okay. Also, do you know, you mentioned this, and then I'll stop. You mentioned that the DOD has some sort of authority to be doing what they're doing.
Yes.
And
yes.
what is it? What are they saying that their authority is? You know, because of the DOD.
Yeah, if someone had to authorize it. It was probably Congress that authorized it, and some of this authorization goes back many years.
Okay.
I would say 20 years at least.
Wow.
And it's not well known.
Yeah.
But it's out there to be read. I have a few TI's friends in Vermont that have copies of have found it in the DOD literature.
Wow.
And it's right there.
So they're using that to do what they're doing now.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. And they literally, okay, just one last question. Are they using, my sense is that they're using the surveillance, they're saying it's just surveillance when they're hitting us with these frequencies? Is that just, do they use it under the cover of surveillance?
I wouldn't, well, it's a different form of surveillance from the kind of intercept of communications.
Exactly.
But they do come together at some point. I mean, if I was bombarding you with some kind of radio energy and expecting certain results, I'd like to see if you talk about that in an email with Ella.
Right.
So I'm sure all of it comes together at some point.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering if they were using it as an excuse. It's like, well, we're just reading their minds as a means of surveillance, or whatever they're doing.
I think that's what the true application is meant to be, and I just don't know how much of what they're doing is literal experimentation over a significant part of the population of the country or the world. To build a database and to find out what's normal reactions and what frequencies cause different reactions. And there must be an awful lot of research going on, more than true application. Although we really don't know. They may be very advanced in this respect, and we just don't know about it.
Well, you mentioned. Well, never mind. I can't remember. I just forgot. My brain fog just kicked in again. Okay, thank you so much thank you so much for giving us inside picture of what goes on in Congress too. That was very, very good information.
Thank you. They really are a bunch of fraidy cats. They really are.
And you guys are very brave, and thank you for being so brave.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. But quite a few people on the call tonight. Let's see. It's to Southeast Pennsylvania.
Hi.
You're on the air.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to tell them thank you, and I wanted to also explain to them that they're also doing this to children. I am a single mom, and I have 2 children, and they constantly keep my children sick and out of school. And the way they're delivering this system to me, through me, is through airplanes, through aircraft, through drones, as well as right now I'm looking at some satellites outside of the back of my home.
Satellites. Yeah.
They put wherever I go at, I'm tracked with satellites. I have different types of aircraft follow me, black helicopters, and they also are able to shoot weapons at you from the air. I'm also followed by police. The police is the head of the gang stalking unit, and this is like a 24-hour, 7 days a week process. I can't sleep. I have injuries all over my body, and I am suffering tremendously, and they will not allow me to work, gain any kind of income, and get any kind of I don't know how to get any kind of medical documentation on what is happening to me. But this situation is really urgent here because they constantly attack these children, and it's just it's horrible.
Yep.
And I can't move. They won't allow me to go anywhere. I have gangs of people on me, as well as these weapons in the air, as well as people on the street with weapons. So this is a real serious issue that's happening. And this is 24 hours. Some days I'm out walking the streets all night because I can't stay inside and just suffer like this. So right now I'm looking at little lights and satellites all over this place. If I go to another location, the plane, the whole operation follows me wherever I go at. And it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it won't stop, and then they go after the children. This is beyond sick.
Do you know of anyone else near you or around you that this is also happening to?
Right now, I'm the main target, and then they go after the children.
But what about support? I think he's asking about support.
I have nobody. I have no support. I'm out here by myself, walking the streets all night long. And
do you have any idea why they're doing it to you? Are they punishing you for something, or do you think they're just doing experimentation?
It could be both. I don't know what I did to deserve anything like this.
Sure.
You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything.
I'm a law-abiding citizen, a conformist. I'm a mom. I try to do the best I can. And for me to have police involved in this and have gangs of them all surrounding me so that these people could perform this on me is horrible. And I can't move left, right, up, down. I can't go anywhere, because I'm just bombarded with all this. And it's nonstop. They won't allow you to sleep. So I'm up all night. I have to get ready to try to find an exit, to find a shield somewhere. And there's no shielding from this. It's horrible.
Well, you know what? Will you do me a favor and email me? I know I've been in contact with you before. There might be some shielding. We know that the shielding is practically impossible, but there's some relief at least. Will you email me again? And I want to be able to talk to you and maybe put you in touch with some people. I know a woman in Pennsylvania. Maybe you guys can meet and just have some support. I mean, you know how it is, just having somebody there close to you that's also a targeted person.
And I have to walk the streets with these gangs on me. I mean, they go and get the worst people to come after you. It's horrible. You go to your state representative office and they tell you you're crazy, go see a psychiatrist, and I'm just loaded with wounds all over my body. Now, what am I going to go into the hospital and say what's happening to me and what's happening to my children? That's not fair. This is horrible.
Yeah, I know.
That is horrible.
Monster. It is. And I understand the children thing. I mean, I knew how evil this was the first time my daughter buckled to her knees in pain. I knew that this was really evil,
This is horrible. And people want to know, why am I walking the streets at night when I have a place to live at? I can't. They have me completely broke. I have no income. Living on food.
That's typical. That's very typical. You know that.
Yeah, they just keep you broke and keep you just stressed out. and they watch you. They just sit around and watch this. They're sick.
Well, hang in there, okay? I mean, we have great people trying to help us out. You know, Sean Stone's doing some episodes for us. He's got a really great show that's on. You know, there's really people really starting to come around, and you know, the people can't keep this secret forever. They just can't. I mean, in the 70s, it was supposed to be shut down in the 70s. It just went deeper and darker. You know, and this is MK Ultra. It's MK Ultra on steroids, is what this is.
It's bad, and then they
hang in there.
Watch the police is helping them. It's horrible. Thank you.
Yeah,
you hang in there.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thank you. And you call me. You have my information. You have my email. I'm going to put you in touch with my friend in Pennsylvania, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. You take care.
All right.
Wow.
Matt,
I just wish we could do more to help people. That's all. I don't, you know.
Well, you know what? Just coming from you guys and knowing that you believe us and that you're willing to go on this venture and trying to help us present it, you know, because a lot of us are so emotional and we're such a mess that, and we just don't know. We don't have the mind and we don't understand. Like, I don't understand the court systems all that well. And so you're giving us guidance and you know, you're giving us hope, and you seem to have a great approach. You know, you guys are very, very smart men, obviously, and you know, you give us hope, and we really appreciate it. And I know you guys are going to come up with a survey that's going to be beneficial for everybody, and we'll just take your advice. And so, Western Massachusetts, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Ella. Thank you. It's Kate. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Kate.
Hi there.
Hi.
Good to talk to you. The only thing I wanted to mention, because I know I get a chance to talk once in a while, but I don't want to take up a lot of time. But I did want to say that I've watched the recent Snowden movie, not the movie that was in the theater, but the documentary. And there is one line in that makes reference to, I don't remember now if he says bio effects or something of that nature. And I will watch it again. And that phrase may be something that you can take to your friend Barton.
Yeah, Bart Gelman.
Yeah. It might be significant. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I'll get back to you on that. And thanks so much.
Okay.
You're doing a great job.
All right, thanks.
Giving people a lot of hope.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Ella.
Kate gives us a lot of hope. She knows what she's talking about. She's a really great pillar in this community. So, okay, we're going to go to Northeast California. Remember, try to keep it short. It's the best you can. I appreciate it. Northeast California, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you hear me? Hi. Yeah, this is Thomas Shibata from California. I'm really grateful that the kids are really working on this issue and be public about this. And I was wondering, I'm trying to set up a class action lawsuit, and in my case, it's not actually the government per se, but it's a criminal organization like the La Cosa Nostra that is committing organized torture against me, and they can do that because the corrupt elements of the federal government wants to keep this unexposed. Now, I'm trying to set up a class action lawsuit, and I was wondering, this kind of my kind of outline of this class action lawsuit is one is mandating a law enforcement to investigate the complaints of organized torture, and also another dimension is class action against the American Psychiatric Association for systematically instructing psychiatrists to give organized torture victims the wrongful diagnosis of delusional disorder or paranoid schizophrenia. And the last part of the class action lawsuit is basically the constitutional civil rights violation through the community policing police surveillance harassment of the organized torture victims. I was wondering if I could ask you to possibly give expert testimony on the organized torture, especially the organized surveillance matter, the existence and mechanism of the organized torture and surveillance. And I have it has been very hard to find an attorney. I managed to talk, Electronic Frontier Foundation in San Francisco. They did say that they would like to they could consider co-counsel as long as I find other attorneys who could represent the rest, because this Electronic Frontier Foundation is they're only specialized in constitutional civil rights online and nothing else. So I have a hard time if you could have any list to find these attorneys, but I certainly would like to ask your you to provide expert testimony when that comes. My name is Tomo Shibata, and I would email. I think I got that Mr. Binney's email, so I would email and contact you concerning the this class action. If that's okay.
I think we could probably address the surveillance part of it, but I think the study we're doing and the documentation we'll be putting together might be more helpful to you once we get that done.
I see.
For a class action lawsuit, and I think I don't know. You have to have a lawyer look at it to see how we could work it into a case. That's the real issue. You have to find some lawyer who would represent you in the courts. Other than that, you could take it in. You could do like we do a lawsuit pro se, which is what we did with our 41G lawsuit to return property. We sued the Department of Justice and the FBI and NSA, and we won. So
yeah, that's impressive. Yeah,
it can be done.
Yeah.
What I mean to say is that it can be done. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I see.
Can I have your first name again?
Oh, my name is Tomo. Tom, like Tom and O at the end.
Tomo.
Mm-hmm.
Tomo. You're Tomo.
Tomo, do you remember the name of the person you spoke with at the Electronic Frontier Foundation?
He's a intake person. Abu or something. I will have to check. Intake person. I think Abu.
I would like to give you the name of. I believe she's an attorney. She's at least an activist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I met her in Paris. I'm not in Paris. In Strasbourg at the European Council on Human Rights.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Nadia, Nadia.
Mm-hmm.
Kayali. I'm going to spell Kayyaali. That's Kayyaali.
Okay.
And her phone number is 415 436 9333 extension 104. And that's in San Francisco. Now, I asked her specifically what she was doing with the EFF, and she said she was brought on board to look at several things, but one of them was the issue of targeted individuals and EMF and this kind of thing. So I would urge you to give her a call, see if she's if it's the correct match, and she might even be able to point you to someone. You maybe get a little better answer from her.
I see. Yeah, I would do that. 415-436-9333. Nadia Kayali. Okay, accession 104. Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hey, Tomo, it's nice I've heard a lot about you. I know you're a well-known activist in the community, so it's nice to hear your voice and have a voice with your name.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to New York. Hi, New York. You on the air?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Just give me a sec. I just wanted to thank you guys for providing us with upgraded information. People that I associated with here working on it. We're concerned with victimization of private individuals who are being targeted by organized criminals that have gotten hold of this technology and are using it to gain profits, basically real estate. And we were told by approached a bureau, and I sat down, I had a face-to-face, and basically just started taking videos. You have to have a witness with you, and told just have a witness, take the videos of your instruments, recording, you know the direction, you know who it is, yes and yes. And the big thing was we need physical medical evidence. And I've been being treated, and what I've been being treated for, some of the symptoms or what you're looking at, the doctors would just shake their head and said, well, it's not from that, you have high blood pressure and you have this, but we never saw anything like that before.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if you go into the Air Force or NASA's research on extended high levels of long-term EMR exposure, if one of them looked at, say, my leg or my face burn, I don't want to get into specifics, that they'd be able to tell you exactly what it was in about 30 seconds. See, that's the kind of data we're looking for. We have the videos. We have the witnesses. I've been going through a doctor, specifically a set of doctors somewhere, group of doctors, they all work together, and we need them to verify that, because we're telling them what our concerns are, and they're saying, well, we never saw anything like that, but we can't really define it. And that's what we're running up against.
Yeah,
we're going them for two things. We want to get access to what they know about overexposure and, high intensity, long-term exposure, and the okay, basically, what can we do to help you? Or what can you do to help us prove it? It's it's rogue groups. They've gotten hold of the technology, and we know who they are. I even said to the woman that I was explaining it to, and she was very attentive, and I could tell just from the look on her face, she knew exactly what I was talking about. I said, if you want to chip me, and monitor what goes on in the course of a month or a week, and so we're continuing where I am on doing that. The problem is getting medical to sign off on all of it. And if you looked at what I have to show, you can see that these are obviously, it looks like somebody took a torch and just went over me lightly on both legs from a certain point down. Just so happens I have videos from that point down of over 150 to 300 milligauss.
Joe, are you almost done with your question? Just because if we have a lot of people, waiting. So are you almost done with your question?
How do we get these doctors to sign off on this stuff?
Yeah, that's that's one of our goals with the data, is to get scientific. It may even be a university somewhere that's willing to do unbiased, and it is difficult to find people who are not on the payoff or being coerced through threats and so forth. So it won't be easy, but I do believe we can find a small group of scientists / medical personnel who could take this on. I don't like the idea, you have your experience where you have a doctor telling you he has no idea what could cause reddening of the skin and not realize that it could be EMR, EMF causing that kind of a symptom. Of course it will. And
I voiced my concerns, and I had a full vascular done. They said your vascular system is perfect. I said, well, then still, question is still there. What would cause that?
That's right. And what's interesting, what's actually horrifying about this kind of technology, it doesn't always leave a permanent effect. They get the pain, they apply the pain, they disturb the thinking, and there's no physical evidence often left behind.
That's what I was told by my primary. My primary is very understanding, and she said, the problem with EMF, Joe, quite frankly, is it's there 1 minute and it's gone. You can't. Right. It doesn't smell. It doesn't leave behind burn marks. It doesn't make a sound. You can't smell it. You can't see it. And she just she knew where I was going with it.
Absolutely. So. And your case is a lot like the lady that called in, an EMF expert, and had her home baseline to 0, and he's working with her to pinpoint the time of the occurrence of the radiation and the direction it's coming from. And I kind of feel that's what you need in your case as well. We need to get people empowered with the equipment, the expertise, to be able to document the correlations so that a doctor can't tell you the problem with this is it's passing and fleeting. They need evidence that it happened and the time that it happened, correlated with the video that you take of the symptoms, or a phone call to your doctor saying it's happening right now that can be correlated. That's the beast that we have to defeat in all of this.
Thank you for that. I have a question in the chat room. It says, would you elaborate more on John St. Clair lawsuit, remote neural monitoring, and SIGINT, please?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I don't either. It just said he wanted you to elaborate on John St. Clair lawsuit.
I wonder if that's what Todd Giffen was talking about. Todd.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it ties into that. Okay, let me go to, hold on a second. It probably does. It sounds like it. You'll hear remote neural monitoring, when you're investigating this quite a bit.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get to, I'm going to go now to, let's see here. I'm going to go to Florida. Hi, Florida. You're unmuted and you're on the call. Hi.
Hi. My name is Joy, and I don't really have a question. I'll just make this really quick. I don't believe that this is something that we have to make a science-type project to show the court. The government created a program, and there are the 5 Ds that are involved, and that's the program that we're under. And, don't ask me to be so specific, but it involves 5 things. They're going to deny that they're doing what they're doing. They're deceiving everyone. They're disrupting our lives. They're degrading us, and they're going to destroy us. And this is the very same program that they're going to use for the rest of the population, just that they're testing on us, and a lot of us are dissidents and whistleblowers. And the rest of the public are going to be so used to participating in this program that when our government transition to us being similar to the way Germany was, everyone is going to accept it to being a way of life. We're just the test subject for what the government is doing. It's my opinion that we need to ask repeatedly and demand a congressional investigation because Congress voted for this program. They do know, but they included the provision that they could lie and deny it. And so that's what they're doing. And the cover for it is the mental illness. So then they easily get out of acknowledging that it's taking place. You know, the CIA, or the Vietnam vets, when they sued the CIA, they demanded that the court, or they were able to get through to get the court to order the CIA to tell the veterans what they did to them. So it's, to me, we should be able to do the same thing to get the CIA, in this case, I believe it's an FBI program, to tell us what they're doing through discovery. And, you know, in essence, when Barack Obama came in, he just continued what the Bush administration did.
Sure.
And he just moved it to the local police. He gave them all these war weapons, and our local police, whether people want to believe it or not, at the local level, this is the way it's being implemented, and then the government is going to transform into what is going to be our new reality. Of course, we're already in the reality, but the rest of the public don't get it yet. So, you know, a congressional investigation is the way to demand that the Congress tell the public what they've already approved, because they know.
Yeah, no, you're right, Joy. You're not going to get an argument from me one bit. You've described the situation we're in, and it's incumbent of us to create an army of people who will not take no, and we will go forward armed with scientific information. It's just a survey, and we'll correlate with known technologies that are out there. We won't know about all of them, but we'll know about a few of them. And we've got some great engineers that you've heard call in and experts. And I think if we team the effort, we can make light years of progress quickly. And then with that information and that kind of group clarity, we can then convince Congress to do something. But we've got to organize and get this data together in order to do that.
Well, the data is there. We just
got to pull it together.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Joy.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, so we have about 20 more minutes on the call, so I'm going to try to be quick with everybody.
Okay.
As long as my gentlemen are hanging in there, okay.
Yep.
We're doing all right, because I know it's late there. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Not yet, no.
No,
okay.
Bill and I stay up pretty late.
Oh, you're night owls. Okay, that's good. Okay. I wish I could say the same. Okay, Northwest California.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you,
welcome.
This is Roseanne up in Northern California. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking this on. This is horrific. You're talking to torture victims, and I wrote a book about this. It's a reference book, and there's a lot of information in that book. All of the patents of the technology being used, pages and pages and pages of petitions signed by thousands of people across the country, all kinds of interviews with scientists, government whistleblowers, et cetera, et cetera. You were talking about data, and I just wanted to call your attention to one thing that's being done, and I didn't know if you knew it. We have a couple of women who are scanning targeted individuals routinely. One is Melinda Kidder, and the other is Hildegard Staninger. Hildegard Staninger is going a step further with this. And she actually put out something called a SCADA report. That's SCADA. And Melinda Kidder did the scans and found that there were frequencies coming from the victims, which were possibly implants, tracking implants, and there were frequencies hitting the victims. Hildegard Stanager then took the frequencies which were detected hitting the victims and had an FCC signals analyst track them. And they were tracked to research and military across the country.
Really?
Yes. And when I saw this, I got a little glimmer of hope. This is called, once again, a SCADA report, SCADA. If you just put that into a computer, you'll probably come right up with it. The report is signed by the FCC signals analyst and Hildegard Stanager. There's a range of frequencies which are mentioned and where they were traced to. And like I said, it was military and research. So
wow.
Yeah, that, when I saw that, because, the big thing here is to prove this.
Absolutely.
And, to undeniably, no, you can't deny it. Here it is. So I kind of know what you're trying to do and what you're after, and you might look into that and maybe even talk to either of those people. Melinda Kidder is actually using something like 5 different ways to scan people. And I will mention that 3 people have detected unauthorized implants in their bodies. One was one person had them removed, and they were identified. And his children were also being tortured, and they also had implants in their bodies. And he went forward with a lawsuit, and the last that we heard was that he got paid off, and there was immediate gag order put on him.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah, that's what happened with him. There's one lawsuit underway, also a man who detected implants in his body, and he's also an electrical engineer, I believe. He works for BMW, and he's in the middle of a lawsuit. And then there was another man by the name of James Wahlberg who was able to prove implants and got the support of his representative in his state and all kinds of people on his side. And his case is really worth looking at also. So I know there's a lot of people waiting, so I'll get off now, but thank you very much for what you're doing. We really need help.
Ruth Ann, could you share the names and any contact information for the 2 ladies? Bill and I can certainly Google the SCADA report, and we'll do that, eager to read it. But I think the work that they're doing, and I've told this to a couple other callers that have been trying to get the right kinds of equipment brought into their homes and search out sources and frequencies, I think this is vital. And I thank you so much for calling in. If you wouldn't mind sharing some contact information so that Ella could follow up with the ladies, because I think you're absolutely right. We may find out there's been considerable good work already done, and we can't overlook it.
Okay, I'll be glad to share that with Ella, and then she can pass it on to you, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Certainly.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you. And I guess, let's see if this is the gentleman that you might know. I believe his name is Phil Marie.
Yes, Phil.
Phil? Huh. Well, sometimes lines get interfered with, but I thought that was him. Let me see. Let me try it again. Phil.
Yes, hi. It's not Phil Marie, but I had one quick thing too to add. If you ever get, or anybody ever gets to the Congress level with this, Richard Blumenthal, who was the Attorney General forever for the state of Connecticut, is now a senator. He's very big on human rights. And he's also the only one that tried to spearhead anything to do with the FISA court. And from what I understand, he was able to get one person appointed to oversee what the FISA court is doing, and that person reports directly to the president what's going on. Before that, the president didn't even know what was going on in the FISA court. So,
he sounds like a willing guy.
Yes, and he's a good guy. He's good-hearted. And he really went to bat for people when he was the Attorney General. So if there's any chance anybody starts contacting Congress, his name again is Richard Blumenthal. I don't think that he could be swayed, and I think that if he knew something like this was going on to the people, I think he would try to do something.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information.
Yes, that's a big one.
Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
And you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, Ella.
Thank you.
For the call. We all need this hope. It's over and
That's
above.
what it's about. What we're going through is so atrocious, and this is such a crime against humanity. And, the reason why I do this and why I'm so involved with activism, as you guys know, is just, I have kids. I don't want them to have to experience it any longer. And, I worry about the future of our, future generations. This is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
And it's un-American. And we know it's globally, but this is just unbelievable in our own country. But, that's what we're here for. We're going to try and do everything we can. And we have good people on our side, and that's what matters. So thank you.
Yes.
We have
and I'm glad that she brought up Linda Kidder and Steininger.
Me too.
They knew about that,
Yeah, those are some people that have been very helpful for proving things that not necessarily do they fly in court oftentimes, but, I don't know very much on that topic, but that's definitely something we'll address and bring up with him again.
Yeah.
With him again. Okay, well, thank you.
And as far as code words, let me just, one more thing. As far as code words, I know Kate, so, we'll try to put something together, and I know Kate's in touch with you guys, so, we'll brainstorm on words, keywords.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay, so this might be him. Let's see if this is Phil up here. Got one filled one full board here. Let's see. Connecticut. Here we go. Hi, Connecticut. You're on the air. Is this Phil?
Hey, you found me.
There's
I found
Phil.
you.
There's
that New England accent.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Very, very thankful to Bill and Kirk, and I'm thankful to Kate and Ella for sending me the email, and I'm thankful that I took the time and not slept like I should be sleeping. I'll feel it tomorrow at work, but great show, great callers, great information, honestly.
Oh, isn't it?
Yep.
It's and by the way, Kate, I think she meant to say biometrics.
Yes.
And if you guys look it up, Obama used that in his speech, I don't know, about 6 months, a year ago, biometric tracking, and they're using this on the terrorists, actually, to follow them, or the Gitmo people that they let out, whatever. So, anyways, that's that. But there's other people that want to talk. I just want to thank Kirk and Bill again, and Ella. Great job tonight.
Thank you, Phil.
Well, thanks, Phil. Yep.
Super.
You still there?
I don't know. I think we've lost him.
Yeah, I do too. I guess FBI reached its limit.
Is Ella there?
I don't think so. I think only
I think
you
we've
and
lost
I.
the whole thing. Yeah. How can we be working here without her being there?
Huh.
I think the circuit, we've lost the circuit.
Should we call back in?
I don't know if we can do that. Do you want to try that?
Yep. Why don't you do right now, and I'll do it a minute later.
Okay. All right. All right.
Go ahead and do it. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Sorry, guys. Hi, guys. I'm so sorry. I got disconnected. It happens usually a few times a night, and unfortunately, we still heard them, but they're going to be calling back, so that's good news. Unless they're still here, but I don't think they are. Okay, so I'm so sorry. I thought I had all my fail-safes in place, but it happens. Okay, I'm just going to get the next question going here when they do call back. Massachusetts. Hi.
Hello?
Massachusetts. Hi, who's this?
Hi. Oh, I'm Cynthia in Massachusetts. Hi.
Hey, Cynthia.
We're
just waiting for them to call back. They didn't realize that.
I enjoyed this show. I really appreciate it. I've been going through all of this, and my son and my family, and I'm just seeing this stuff all over the place. But I'm wondering, where is there a place we can send all of our evidence to? Because I'm hearing, everybody has a little piece of something, and that's really very important. There's also so much, not so much direct, but circumstantial evidence. And then when you put, like, the Stanninger's report and the tracking and the other woman and everything that Kirk Wiebe and his partners doing, and, it's just insurmountable. We're just, it's compelling enough for the court to do something. So I'm just wondering, like, is there like a warehouse or someplace? I fantasize about some kind of warehouse and just really good shows like your show to advertise for people who have evidence to just send it there.
That's a good idea. That's something we should come up with. I don't know personally of something like that. Do we have Bill and Kirk back on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm here. Yep.
You guys, it was me. This happens to me at least 2 or 3 times a night usually, but I was actually surprised I was able to talk that long without being interrupted. So that was actually new for me. Usually, yeah, the longer the call, it's sometimes half a dozen times. So I apologize, and thanks for calling back.
That's all right.
Well, on our end, we thought the FBI needed to change their tape.
I heard. Well, I guarantee you that we got all kinds of people taping our calls tonight. I guarantee you. It's going to be unbelievable.
That's one idea, and the second I was thinking like more on the side, because I think Congress, more people know about this, and on the government level, we've been going through this for quite a few years now, so I can't fathom that government is clueless. A lot of different government officials. You just mentioned earlier one of the early official that approved this was in Congress years ago. Mr. Wiebe mentioned that. But also, I was thinking of a side thing of doing a fundraiser to open up like a Zazetsin museum or pre-Holocaust museum. You know, we can just send our evidence there. I mean, this is like,
yeah.
this
I tell you what,
incredible. Yep.
Yeah, I have something, a suggestion for you. I have a Saturday activism call, and I really like your ideas. And if you'd like to come on, it's the same room number that you entered, and it starts at 4 o'clock on Saturday. If you want to come on, that's something maybe we can, that's a great idea. We should, bounce it around some of the people.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd love to. So I want to just thank you again for this call, and I'm just looking forward to discussing all of this further. And thank you so much, Mr. Wiebe, and all of the sacrifices that you both have done for all the American public.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. God bless you all. Bye.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to
I think, Ella,
Connecticut.
if you're going to start that and start to do compiling the evidence, please keep Kate and Carla, who are working with us to compile data and information. Keep them in the loop too, so that they have this.
I will. Yeah, Kate and I have been working fairly closely on a couple of things too. We're working with Jeffrey Sterling as well. We're very concerned about what's going on with him. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
They kind of,
touched upon it.
I don't know how a jury could have convicted him. So.
Yeah, and and someone said something the other day, or I'd heard this a couple of times. The Espionage Act was for spies, not for whistleblowers. And does that ring true to you guys? Is that what you understood as well?
Well, yes, that's right. That's one of the things the government wants to do with Edward Snowden, because that's why they canceled his passport in Moscow, so they could name Russia as the foreign aid government that he was working for. That's a part of the Espionage Act, and if they can show that, and according to that, then they could convict him and use the death penalty at that point. So that was their motivation for doing that.
I see. Okay, so
it's
we'll
pretty
go.
Clear to me anyway. So.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so Kate, Eastern Central Washington, you're on the air.
Grab a pen. You guys have obviously noticed the correlations between the early UFO drama and misinformation community and our targeting, I'm sure, chipping, abductions, high technology. Anyhow, we know what that was called when the government decided to investigate itself. It was called Blue Book. And on paper, for them, it was called Oxcar. Well, if you research the program that came after Blue Book, you have your word to cross-reference and all that data and paperwork to be able to find out where targeting was being mentioned in their paperwork. So those in the know are going to know. And I don't really want to say it because I don't want everybody to suddenly start posting about it and blow it up to where you guys can't find it. But if you know what came after Blue Book, then you know what to look for. And then you know that the new program they have on paper should be called Tricar. But you won't find that. Just like you wouldn't find Oxcar, you would find Blue Book.
Interesting.
Am I getting through enough to where you'll be able to figure out what the information I just gave you? Because I just gave you gold, bro. Really, I just gave you gold. You find that word, and you cross-reference it, you're going to find a ton. And you're going to see so many correlations between this blue program. So you got Blue Book, and then you got the blue program after it. Where once again, the government is investigating its aliens. When we already know we're the aliens that they're testing, searching, and experimenting on, not some strangeness. Anyway, that's the end of it. That's what I got to give you. If you look up what comes after Blue Book, what comes after Oxcar, you're going to find that word to search through any Snowden documents or anything, where you'll find the direct targeting where we're getting baked. So yeah, put me back on mute. I'll just keep on listening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
They do things like that, with targets. So they try to lump us in like the UFO believers and, Armageddon, and some people believe in that too, but they do like to lump us all together. It's very discrediting as well. So, and you're probably aware of that. Sometimes when you look at
it's the standard form of ad hominem arguments.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to discredit the individual. Yeah.
And even when you look up, sometimes you would look up the word targeted individual, you should see this. Luckily, we have a gentleman now, a man named Spencer Carter. He has gone on and kind of cleaned it up. He pays to have these very credible documents that he's created and websites to kind of come up, as opposed to what was coming up on its own with the algorithm. So, we have a lot of great people in the community who are doing really good things. And Kirk, because I noticed you were following on Twitter Bigger Than Snowden. He's the person behind that.
Who is?
His name's Spencer Carter. He's one of the activists. Yeah, he's behind that, and it's very credible. And, when we get people together that can do these kind of things, it really helps the community. Because, like I said, you would put that word in, and you wouldn't believe the kind of stuff that came up. It was extremely discrediting. So, people are all working hard and trying to bring some credibility to the issue. So,
sure.
That's very good news. Okay, Connecticut. Hi, Connecticut. You're on the air.
It's me again, Phil.
Oh, hi. Okay. Do you have another question?
No. I'm all set. I don't know what happened with that call, but it's all good.
Okay.
I'm
all right.
listening in. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yep.
Okay. Getting through here. We're getting here. It looks like we're getting close to the end of the list here.
Good.
Hi, West Washington State. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you. I was just looking at Dr. John Hall's letter that he wrote to whom it may concern 2 years ago. But he does mention John St. Clair. His last name is actually Akwei. And what he says is he's National Security Agency insider, had a civil action against the NSA, and he detailed the frequencies used by the NSA and other agencies to influence, access the human body and nervous system. So he would be someone who may have been in a department that may have known more about it. So I thought I'd just throw that in. He might be somebody to follow up on. I want to tell you guys that this is a real pleasure. I've been listening to these calls for many years, and people get disillusioned with the whole government, and it's so nice that we still are graced with people like you who know the right thing to do, and they actually haul off and do it. You're just amazing people, and God bless you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to add here in his letter, too, he was talking about, I know you've heard about this, notwithstanding the proliferation of the weapons into the criminal elements in this country, into contractors who don't even have the accountability that the NSA is supposed to have. Premier Putin, even in 2012, has admitted that Russia is following this kind of thing, too. And then he has said, I'm sure you heard that if you were in the European realm there, but he did say that the nation that controls electromagnetic weapons technologies controls the world. So do we find ourselves in an arms race that's going to be even more widespread than just the fact that people are being experimented on for other reasons, maybe?
Well, I certainly think that we certainly have that for sure in the cyber area, and surely this is simply another extension of that kind of electronic control.
Okay. God bless you. Keep up the good work, and I hope that all of your personal things work out, too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lonnie. Okay, Massachusetts. Hi, you're on the air.
I took myself out to mute. You're able to hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you both to the speakers, guest speakers, and you, Ella, for hosting this call as well. The question has to do with there was a woman on earlier who mentioned she wrote a book, and she has all kinds of evidence written in that book, including she talked about how the people who go to court cases now end up getting gag orders on them, not to speak of it evermore into infinity. would you have that information of her name or some way I can look her up on the website, or should I contact you?
I believe her name was Ruth Ann, Ella. She called in about the scatter report and the two ladies scanning TI people.
Right.
Yes, right. Ella might have dropped off the call again.
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm sorry. I just got distracted. Forgive me.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Toronto, Ontario. Hi, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi there. Okay. I, at first, a little nervous, just want to say. Wasn't expecting to get a call in. I've been TI fully for about 9 years plus. My thoughts have been broadcasted over radio, even TV. It's been, gaslighted to me in many ways. I have a few questions. Have you ever heard of any such occurrences coming from Canada?
I have not, no.
Okay. Would this technology be specifically made from the U.S., or would Canada be toying with it too?
I think that in the technology area, the Five Eyes group basically coordinates the efforts.
Yeah, in other words, Canada would be involved.
Yeah. Well, they share, yeah.
All right. Sorry, my notes are scrambled here. Yeah. I just appreciate what you're doing. Yeah. I guess.
Well, thanks for calling in. And we have calls every night. And thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, New York. Hi,
Ella?
New York. You're on the air. Hi.
Oh, hi, Ella. I just want to thank you very much. It's Corinne. I just wanted
Corinne.
to say hi. I just wanted to say thank you so much. Your guest speakers are amazing as always, and they really provide a lot of information and give me and everybody a lot of hope for the future and show that there is still character out there, which is a dynamite trait that I think that I haven't seen in a while. So my question was, when you're going through all of this and putting the pieces together, what is it that made you say, you know what, this has to be said. This is something that is wrong. It is something that's unjust, and it's happening to innocent people all over. What made you just say, I got to change this because I'm working for something that isn't working for me? What was the drive for that?
You mean for getting involved in the TI area?
Yes, because I found.
I think for me, I can answer that. It's pretty simple. I think it's so many people seem to be having so many problems that it seemed to me that someone needed to do something. And since this really required information correlation, that's basically the field that my background is, and that's what I've worked in for NSA. So I thought I had an opportunity, and I think Kirk felt the same way, or he can speak for himself here too. But I felt that I had something that I might be able to do that might help people.
Yeah, because my husband says to me, I have a successful marriage for 8 years, and my husband is very well aware of what's going on over time. And he says to me, you're a TI. And I say, no, I'm not a TI. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. I'm a godmother. And I'm a special needs educator and a rescue dog owner. A TI, I am not. I am an innocent person that is being illegally stalked and harassed, and there's a big difference. And to have that name put on me
it always bothered me very much because I never understood why I got it in the first place, honestly.
I can understand that, yeah.
I never had any mental health issue. I never had any criminal background. I mean, I really was like a really just a good person that like really helped people and cared about my family and my friends and my husband and my dog. And the day out for me was going out fishing and having a cold beer.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it was. And to me that I lived a very simple life, and a very quiet one. So I never understood how I got caught up in all this riffraff and all this things that honestly I would never know about. But here I am, 6 years later. It's been 6 years for me now. And I just want to have a cold beer and fish with my dad. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Sure. No, we understand. It's like whistleblowers being called whistleblowers. It almost has a negative connotation because it makes it sound like you're subverting the common belief system. But
that's right.
But
that's
right.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I like when my husband would say you're a targeted individual. It was the same thing as somebody like yourself being called a whistleblower. It's condescending because you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything.
Right.
You just did your job. You just did what was your job and what you were paid to do, and you didn't do anything corrupt and you didn't do anything wrong. So I don't know, the term targeted individual to me, I always had it was hard spot for me. I wanted to have people see me as a wife and as a daughter and as a godmother and as an educator.
Of course.
But it is hard.
Of course it is. It is. I don't know if you're religious, but keep your faith.
I am.
Keep your
Very
faith.
much so. And it's funny because when I go to church, believe it or not, there's some churchgoers that do this,
Yeah, it's
and it's interesting because it's like they're a Christian, but they're walking out and they're doing the opposite.
No, well, then they're not really Christian. There's a lot of wannabe Christians in the world, and you got to walk it and you got to talk it. And the man upstairs knows who's walking and who's talking, believe me.
Yeah, I always say to my husband, I got the law on my side and I got God on my side, and that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I know about God. I don't know about the law because there are plenty of people in government who don't think the law means anything anymore. So it's going to be up to the citizenry to tell them that it does matter.
Oh, I film every day. I film every day. Every day I got security cameras, glasses, you name it. And everything that I do and everywhere I walk, I film. When they're screaming at me, yelling at me, I just film.
Yep. Well, don't let them get to you. Don't let them, they want to get to you psychologically. Don't let them do it.
Yeah.
You got a whole army of people who are suffering like you, and we're going to rally that army, and we're going to get this thing addressed.
Yeah, I know. You feel like, I don't know if you feel like this, but I feel like this. I mean, I got people my dad's age, screaming and yelling at me every day. And they're my dad's age. I'm half their age. I'm a female. And I'm just walking my dog, And I'm just like, God, I got to get to work. And I got to make money. And I got to pay bills. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Yep. Well, you hang in there, keep your faith. Don't let them get you down.
Yeah.
Keep your attitude. Stay on the straight and narrow. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I always cry privately. I never cry out loud. I never react. I never say anything. I just film them, actually, to be quite honest with you. I just film them. You know, I got to a point where I was fed up and tired with all the abuse that I just started filming them every day. I wear sunglasses. I wear them every day. And I just click those on and say, okay, let it rip, boys. You know, you want to shit on a woman half your age and feel powerful, go ahead.
There's a lot of nasty people out there. Don't let them make your life miserable. Ignore them.
Ignore them. Yeah.
Yep. Ignore them.
Thank you.
There's a lot of good people, and you've heard them tonight on Ella's show, and there's a lot more like that around the country.
You have such strong character. You really do. I was just complimenting you guys to my husband, and I said, what an amazing character you both have. You know, it was so refreshing, and it was so nice to hear, because they love to put negativity in your face, and then you hear you guys, and you're like, yeah, now that's character. That's something good, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I loved, and I was never steered wrong. Like, I never, you know, I always knew right from wrong, and I always said, well, I'm not going to hurt this person. That's wrong. I'll help this person. I'll lift this person up. I'll try to make them a better person and implement their talents or their interests, but I won't put them down. That's just wrong.
You're considerate of people. That's good.
There's a character to that, and I was raised that way with my dad, and my dad's actually visiting me tomorrow, because my dad actually supports me 100%, and not many TIs have that, you know, where family members know what's going on, but my dad knows what's going on, and he supports me 100%.
That's excellent. You got a super dad.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like, let's go have a beer and a cod fish. You know, let's have some fish and chips and a cold beer, and you know, fuck them. Keep going. So, thank you very much, guys. And
you keep your chin up, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we still there? Huh?
I don't know.
Is Ella there now, or did we get disconnected again?
I don't know.
I think we're disconnected.
You think? Should we call in again?
Give her a minute, see if she comes on.
Yeah, give her a minute, see if she comes on, then we'll do it again. I think she's running out of phone time anyway.
Yeah, I would. It's almost 1:00 here. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would like to wrap up with her and thank her. I mean, Bill, have we had some...
There's some good stuff here. I mean, if we get some of this stuff collected, I mean, I think this will really help.
Yeah, see, I just saw Carla's note to you and me. I've got emails from Carla, Kate, and Phil while we were on.
Uh-huh.
Carla just sent one and says, please note there may have been a few infiltrators on the call. People who tried to discredit
Hi, guys.
us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
Back. Okay.
Oh, this is my third phone. Okay.
We were wondering if you were going to be back with us here.
And you know what happened is they completely disabled my phone. Absolutely disabled. It's not dead. It's nothing. I mean, everything was connected, and you know they didn't just disconnect it. It's just not even working at all. It's like frozen. So I had to reboot it, and then I just went ahead and grabbed a different phone. they're being a little troublesome at this point, but that's okay. So let's see. So how are you guys hanging in there? Are you guys ready for maybe another 10 minutes or?
Sure.
10 more minutes?
Okay. 10 more, then I got to go to bed here. Something.
Okay.
It's.
Yeah, me too. I got kids to get up early, so.
All right.
Let's see here. I'm sorry for the inconvenience when that happens.
Nah, that's all right.
No, I don't know how to solve that. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, let me go back to Linda here. Hold on. Hi, Linda.
Well, thank you. Okay, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Maybe two things. Now, I'm not sure this is going to impact anything, but I think this is really big, and I keep mentioning it, and I don't. Anyway, Lloyd's of London included an exclusion in all of their liability policies in February of last year, excluding any and all damage caused by electromagnetic frequencies. And they are.
Oh, really?
Yes, and insurance companies are following them like crazy. And the reason I think this is so important is there is going to be litigation at some point because somebody's going to say, why aren't you going to cover that? And they're going to have to come up with the reason why. And that means a lot of evidence. A lot of evidence is going to be public at that point, right? Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that's just huge for us. I think that's going to lead into something. And they did base it on the research of a doctor that he came up with this information, oddly enough, in 2002. He was dead in 2005. They've been looking at this issue for years and obviously finally came to the conclusion. It started out with smart meters, cell phones, cell towers, and then they broadened it to any and all injuries, legal fees, whatever companies have to incur as a result of damaging people, injuring people with electromagnetic frequencies. I think that's huge for us. What do you think?
That is. I agree with you.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I just want to mention
that's very important.
I think so. I think ultimately that will be a huge bundle of information for us, all in one place. Litigation, and as I say, they did follow the information from a doctor, I think Theodore Lebowski. I will have to look that up again, but they did base it on that, and that is he does have a video online. It was put online that's giving some of his conclusions. I just thought that was great information.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Good. Okay, that's just what I wanted to say.
Oops. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm here. I thought we went dead there for a minute.
It wouldn't be too surprising on calls like these. Okay, hold on one second. We've got Northwest California. Huh. Oh, no, they're freezing my computer. Oh, wait, they let it go. Okay. Hi, California.
Oh, hi. Hi, it's Roseanne again. I just wanted to give some information to the woman who called in, who wanted to get that information. But before I do, I wanted to correct one of the last speakers who said whistleblowers was a derogatory term. Not in my book. I think you guys are the cream of the crop. If everybody had your courage, we would not be losing our country the way we are. And I also wanted to say that, there have been studies of who's targeted in this program, and on the whole, they are of above average intelligence and compassion. So, to that poor woman who doesn't want to be known as a TI, you're in with the best. And don't forget that.
That's
really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because they are going for, I guess they want a challenge. They want to see if they can change people who are intelligent and compassionate into something else. So don't let them. And someone else called. I'm Roseanne Schneider, and I'm happy to give my name because it might protect me. My book is Surveillance, Torture, and Control in the Modern World. And it's an ebook. It's very cheap. It's on Amazon. If you can't afford it, write to me. I'll send it to you free. It is full of things that you can show your family. A lot of proof in the book. The person who was gagged, his name is Michael Caine. They went after a person who was studying law, and boy, did he get them. He turned around and proved it all and went after them. And last we heard, he got a settlement, and he was immediately gagged. So that's the only person I know that's in that category. But I just wanted to answer her. And thank you again, guys. Love you both. And we're going to lick this thing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Roseanne.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to pick just two more people. Let's see. I'm going to pick kind of random here. Go with this California person. Hi, California, you're on the air. California?
Sorry, I had myself muted.
Oh, no worries. That happens. We all do that.
Yeah. I was just listening to the conversation. I wish I could have come on earlier, but I missed the majority of the program tonight. But it sounded like it was very interesting, and it sounds like there might be some new developments that could help TIs in this program.
Yeah, it seems to be going that direction.
That's good. That's the only thing I think I've ever heard in 13 years that was that sounded hopeful.
Oh, really? Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
do you have a question for the two gentlemen?
Pardon?
Do you have any questions for the gentlemen?
I don't even know what to say. I just had a really, really hard day today with these frequencies, so I'm feeling more like I was in a car accident than anything else. I honestly, I'm sorry that I can't even think of any questions. I don't even know I don't know what to say at this particular point, because the technology, as far as the software is changing, maybe the hardware too, who knows, but the potency of the frequencies has really changed, and it seems to be able to just cover your whole body from head to toe, which is something pretty new to this year, where they could use equal strength and power on your whole entire body at the same time, where before it would be legs or chest or head, but not the whole entire body at the same time. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing, is that it's changing fast, and it's changing fast, and they're getting braver and braver, because normally they recently have tried not to create as many wounds or leave evidence behind, and that's changing. That changed today. And it has, well, I shouldn't say it changed today. It's been changing, and it's getting more and more overt, which tells me that their fear of exposure is not what it used to be. As it goes on, let me see if I can say this. As it goes on, it's picking up steam, so to speak. and that's not a good thing. They're getting more confident. That's what I'm trying to say.
I would call it. I would call it arrogant. They're getting arrogant with their power.
Yes. Now that is a good way to look at it because pride comes before the fall. So arrogance, from a victim standpoint, is what you want to see in the victimizer. Because to me, every time I've seen somebody get really, really, really arrogant, it doesn't take too long and they're gone. So, with this system, though, it's completely massive. This is such an incredibly massive system. And it just seems like anything this massive that has woven its way all the way through society, at least in the United States, and I'm not in touch with what's happening too much in other countries, but it's woven, especially where I am in Southern California, that my experience on things like that is that usually a collapse follows. And then I've seen it in corporations. I saw the same thing happen in a lot of different areas, and I'd always think, this is too big to collapse, or this couldn't possibly collapse. There's too much power in it. There are too many powerful people. And then they're gone. It's collapsed. And it either goes out with a whimper or it goes out with a crash. So, but it doesn't, when you're in it and when they're at their most powerful points, it doesn't look that way. It looks like it could go on forever, and I'm sure it looked like that in Rome when Rome was at its height. And I'm sure that it looked that way to people who were victimized in Rome and having to live in that. So anyway, but over here it's pretty bad. It's escalating for sure. And it's, like I said, it's such a massive program that's gone on for so many years that it's just new things unfolding every day, that how massive a program it was, and run by such a few people at the top. But it seems like it's not close to being over. That's how I see it. I could be wrong, I don't know, but it does look to me like it's far from being over. And the reason I say that is commerce is so deeply involved in this. It's not just technology, but the medical industry, the judicial system is so deeply entrenched in this country anyway, in this, that they're talking, I hear a lot of commentators talking about the possibility of a financial collapse, and just stopping human trafficking alone could cause a financial collapse.
Do you have a question, though? Because there's still a couple people who want to have a.
Oh, no, I really don't. No, I really don't have a question because, like I said, I didn't hear the rest of the conversation that was going on tonight. So it just sounded like a really good call, so thank you, Ella.
You're welcome, very much so. Do you guys have anything you want to add to her comments?
No, thank you for calling, though. It was good to hear.
Yeah. Thank you for your input and your experience.
Sure.
Oregon, you're on the call.
Hi, this is David Porter in the Salem, Oregon area.
Hi, Dave. I know you. I'm going to see you tomorrow.
You betcha, Ella. Yeah. Looking to see you again sometime soon at the Portland Freedom Meeting.
Yep.
But, and Mr. Binney, let me just say how well my good friend Todd Giffen speaks of you. He's one of your biggest fans. I was, like so many of us, I began to be targeted in 2008. It seems to be when they really rolled out this program in a widespread way. My granddaughter, in late 2007, she was 10 years old at the time, was raped by a man that a national corporation had brought in to manage an apartment complex full of children. And since that time, I've pursued both civil and criminal remedies for my granddaughter, none of which went anywhere. But meanwhile, I was placed under 24/7 surveillance, which continues to this day. And I have experienced both the social victimization, the group stalking, the slander mill, and of course I lost my business. And also the electronic component was rolled out against me in 2010. For 14 days, I was fried in my bed in the wee hours of the morning, awakening to find the entire bed soaked with my sweat. I was amazed I survived after having lost so much fluid. And since then, I've been, trying to educate myself about just what in the world is going on. I now have friends that are TIs and wonderful friends, actually, that I never would have met were it not for this program. I am a man of faith, although I will second what the woman said when she said she is targeted even in church, or should I say especially in church. I'm beginning to understand how the Nazis were so successful in enlisting churches for the victimization of the Jews. It's really quite insidious, and it makes people feel so self-righteous to participate in this sort of pogrom, if you will. But like I say, God and I have a personal relationship, and I live to please Him. And so these people's approval doesn't mean a great deal to me. Like I have told myself on more than one occasion, what did these people ever do for me anyway?
Right.
It's, I love what you guys are talking about doing, compiling TI narratives and assembling a database of testimony. And I very much intend to email you sometime in the next few days and offer whatever minor assistance I can give to this great undertaking, because it's about time that, there are millions of Americans who've been implanted. That figure is known, and it's about time we began to gather the strength that comes with numbers.
Yes.
And that we begin to make ourselves heard. And, as I often call my friend Todd Giffen, I call him Todd Giffen, American hero. And he just kind of shrugs it off because he's a humble guy, but I'm going to add you guys to my list, too. Hey, thanks for letting me share. All right, have a good night.
Thank you, David Porter.
We'll see you tomorrow when we go do our activism, Dave.
Yes, you will. Looking forward to it, Ella. Bye-bye now.
I haven't seen you in a while. Well, gentlemen, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. I know this is a heavy topic, and it's hard to hear, and, we just appreciate that you're interested, and thank you for everything that you do. And, I personally regard you guys as our heroes, and I think you're true patriots. And I'm glad there's still true patriots left in our country. I really do. And thank you for everything you've done, for as long as you have been doing it. And I know you guys still speak out, and you still are truth tellers and truth sayers, and I know that's very much appreciated right now.
Ella, I want to thank you for making this possible. I know Bill and I have been greatly enlightened on the entire subject by your outstanding listeners out there. And so it was really important for us to be able to slug through some of their stories, discover some of the knowledge that's already been gathered, as Roseanne has pointed out, and others. And we've learned a lot ourselves tonight. So it goes both ways. It really does. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ella. And if you can, if you hear from anybody else that can help add some kind of data or information or documentation that can help in this study and all, and get it consolidated for Kate and Ella and Carla here and us. Yeah. That would really help, and that would help accelerate this process.
Yeah,
so
you need to get this out pretty soon too.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
There's people that are
long,
being tortured, and there's people that are, unfortunately, there's people that can't deal with this, and they take their lives, and we all know.
You can hear the emotion in some of the callers tonight. You could really
even the pain. Yeah.
And they're such lovely people. I mean, if you only knew, people say, well, what did they do? Most of us didn't do anything. We either spoke. In my case, I talked too much, but I spoke the truth. And everybody has different situations. But I'm going to close out on this quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that is the only thing that ever has. And that's Margaret Mead, and I thought that would be a good
I love that one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
it's a great one. Well, thank you, guys. Thanks again, and we'll speak soon and be in contact, and you guys take care.
Thank you, Ella.
Thank you, and you do the same. Yeah.
Good night.